Chapter 2044. Tang Ao used his spiritual power to bring Zhong Ming to the grassland. Then Tang Ao said to Zhong Ming, "You will cultivate here during this period of time. When the trial is over, I will take you back with me." There was still more than 2 months until the end of the trial. Tang Ao naturally could not send Zhong Ming back to the 7 Kills sect alone. Yes, Zhong Ming bowed to Tang Ao and then retreated to the side. Looking up at the array screen, Zhong Ming was a little dumbfounded. Since he had been eliminated, his name had already been blackened. But what surprised Zhong Ming was that his score was 900 points. Compared to senior brother Wei Pohu, who was in second place, he was a full 400 point higher. However, Zhong Ming quickly understood that this 900 points was obtained after the Iron Armor Wolf was killed by the explosive Flaming Bear. In other words, after the Iron Armor Wolf was killed by the explosive Flaming Bear, as long as he could find a way to escape, he was very likely to become the first place in this trial. With such a big gap in the beginning, he only needed to focus on killing some of the weaker demonic beasts, and he would be able to maintain his advantage. Unfortunately, when facing the 7 explosive Flaming Bears, his mind was really in a mess, and he did not even have the courage to escape. After seeing Zhong Ming sitting cross-legged on the side, Tang Ao continued to look at the array screen. At this moment, after Zhong Ming was eliminated, there were still 19 disciples from the 7 Kills sect who came to the trial. Moreover, the points of these disciples were increasing faster and faster, indicating that as the trial progressed, they had begun to adapt to the law of the jungle. Tang Ao casually threw a few array flags, and a huge defense array quickly formed. The defense array was divided into 20 compartments, and Zhong Ming was trapped in one of them. Although Zhong Ming was cultivating just now, he still paid attention to the sect master's every move. Seeing Tang Ao casually throw a few array flags and so casually arrange such an array, Zhong Ming was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. One had to know that Zhong Ming majored in array Dao in the 7 Kills sect, but Zhong Ming had been studying array Dao for so long. In Zhong Ming's understanding, setting up an array had always been a delicate and slow work. How could he be like Tang Ao, instantly setting up an array? Because he majored in array Dao, Zhong Ming was increasingly aware of how powerful the array arranged by Tang Ao was. Thinking of how Bai Qing had found sect leader Tang Ao's pill refinement insights in the inner sect's treasury, Zhong Ming's eyes were filled with fervor. At this moment, Zhong Ming was even more determined to do more sect tasks and strive for the opportunity to enter the inner sect treasury. In Ming's mind, he went to the inner sect to the sect to find the sect's inner sect treasure. After setting up the array, Tang Ao continued to deduce the array. After deciphering the array left behind by Yang Tianxian, Tang Ao's array, Dao, had already surpassed the level of a Grade 1 Immortal Array Master. However, Tang Ao had never personally set up a Grade 1 Immortal Array, and Tang Ao was not very familiar with it. Therefore, Tang Ao had to take this opportunity to digest his previous insights and combine them with Yun Xiaoyao's array Dao inheritance to stabilize his array Dao cultivation base. Time passed quietly. Array flags had already appeared around Tang Ao. These array flags were half-finished products that Tang Ao had refined. Although Tang Ao's array Dao realm was already comparable to a Grade 1 Immortal Array Master, it was still not enough. Chapter 2045. This made Tang Ao very indignant. There are already many abandoned formation flags around Tang Ao. The materials used to refine these formation flags were not cheap. However, Tang Ao did not mind at all. He continued to refine the formation flags. As the formation flag in his hand emitted another puff of green smoke, Tang Ao frowned. Up until now, Tang Ao had refined more than 800 formation flags. However, even after refining so many formation flags, Tang Ao had yet to successfully refine an immortal formation flag. According to Yun Xiaoyao's Legacy of Formations, there were also 2 ways to set up an immortal formation. One was to use formation flags to set up the formation, while the other was to use runes. Unlike formation flags, runes could be concealed in the void and could not be detected by spiritual awareness. It was difficult to discover them easily. However, now that Tang Ao could not even refine formation flags, it was even more impossible to use runes to set up an immortal formation. What went wrong? Looking at the formation flag that he had destroyed, Tang Ao's eyes were filled with confusion. Tang Ao's spiritual awareness seeped into the formation flag like a thin thread and began to wander slowly according to the path of the inscription formation. As Tang Ao's spiritual awareness wandered, the runes of the inscription formation emitted a strange glow. The spiritual awareness continued to wander deeper into the formation flag. These inscription formations were carved by Tang Ao using his spiritual awareness, so Tang Ao could be said to be very familiar with these runes. Following the path of the inscription formation, Tang Ao's spiritual awareness quickly came to a broken point of the inscription formation. After seeing this broken point, Tang Ao's eyes were filled with doubt. This was because the broken point of the inscription formation was not considered special. It was just a very ordinary point where three inscription formations met. However, Tang Ao knew that it was because of this problem that caused the formation flag he refined to fail. After finding the root of the problem, Tang Ao did not continue to observe this array flag. Instead, he picked up another array flag next to him. Subsequently, Tang Ao continued to use his soul remembrance to explore this array flag. Then, Tang Ao saw that this ruined array flag was exactly the same as the previous one. At the beginning of the intersection of three array patterns, a node was broken. Generally speaking, there was only one reason for such a situation to occur. That was, some array masters were not proficient in controlling their spiritual power and soul remembrance at the apprentice stage. This led to the uneven transmission of spiritual power between the lines of the inscription array when they were inscribing the inscription array. That was why the nodes of the inscription array exploded. However, now that Tang Ao's array Dao cultivation had reached the standard of a Grade 1 Immortal Array Master, it was obvious that Tang Ao wouldn't make such a mistake. Since that was the case, what was the problem? Tang Ao was puzzled no matter how he thought about it. After observing dozens of array flags, Tang Ao found that the reason for the destruction of all the array flags was the same. All of them were caused by the conflict of spiritual power at the intersection of several array lines. No, soon, Tang Ao found that he was wrong. There was only one reason for the spiritual power conflict to occur when inscribing an array flag. It was the low-level mistake that Tang Ao had deduced just now that only array apprentices would make. Was Tang Ao an array apprentice? Obviously not. Not only was Tang Ao not an array apprentice, but he was also an array master at the level of a Grade 1 Immortal Array Master. Chapter 2046. It was a terrible feeling, just like when Tang Ao had first discovered the brilliant blaze amber. The amber was only 800 meters away from Tang Ao, but Tang Ao could not get his hands on it. Now, Tang Ao's situation was even worse than before. Tang Ao felt that he was only one step away from the brilliant blaze amber, but no matter how hard Tang Ao tried, Tang Ao could not cross this one step. Once he crossed this step, he would be able to easily refine first-grade immortal array flags in the future. However, if he could not understand this step, then even if Tang Ao refined more array flags, he would not be able to refine first-grade immortal array flags. Tang Ao took a deep breath and carefully recalled Yun Xiaoyao's description of a first-grade immortal array master in his mind. What made Tang Ao feel helpless was that although Yun Xiaoyao's array formation legacy could be said to be very complete, there was a rare blank spot in the information regarding this part. Tang Ao knew that this was not Yun Xiaoyao's carelessness. Just like when he had advanced to become a first-grade immortal alchemy master, there seemed to be some things that could only be achieved naturally after one's understanding of them had reached a certain level. What exactly is it? Tang Ao frowned and thought hard, but he had no clue. Just as Tang Ao was pondering, the token in Tang Ao's storage ring flashed twice again. It was obvious that another trial disciple was in danger. Advancing to become a first-grade Immortal Array Master was very important to Tang Ao, and Tang Ao was only a step away from becoming a first-grade Immortal Array Master. However, since a trial disciple of Seven Kills sect was in danger, as the sect leader Tang Ao could not sit idly by. Without any hesitation, Tang Ao rushed out of the defense formation. With a sweep of his powerful psyche, he immediately flew in a certain direction. This time, the one in danger was a female disciple. Tang Ao remembered that this female disciple was called Su Mo. Her cultivation method was very special. It was a very rare Confucian cultivation method. After confirming Su Mo's location, Tang Ao's figure flashed and appeared in the sky above Su Mo immediately. Tang Ao saw that Su Mo was drawing talismans in the air with a talisman brush. Behind Su Mo, there was an unconscious disciple of the Seven Kills sect. Tang Ao only knew the name of this unconscious disciple, Li Wenshu. As for the rest, he had no impression of him at all. However, Tang Ao was able to tell that this person and Su Mo were obviously partners because Li Wenshu was holding a talisman brush that was exactly the same as the one Su Mo was using. These two talisman brushes were obviously a pair. However, Li Wenshu's injuries were extremely heavy, and Su Mo's injuries weren't light either. If Tang Ao had come a step later, Su Mo and Li Wenshu would have become a meal of these black scale beasts. These black scale beasts weren't actually very strong. They were only at the 8th or 9th level of the origin martial realm. If it was Tang Ao or Dong Xinyi here, even if Su Mo and Li Wenshu had the same cultivation, they would be able to beat these black scale beasts to the ground. However, Tang Ao had said before that this batch of Seven Kills sect disciples was too inexperienced. They had pitifully little battle experience and poor battle awareness. Thus, even with Su Mo and Li Wenshu working together, they only managed to kill 2 black scale beasts before Li Wenshu fell to the ground with heavy injuries. At the same time, Su Mo was surrounded by 6 black scale beasts and was in danger. Chapter 2047. However, Su Mo did not sit still and wait for death. Su Mo immediately drew a talisman, and the talisman brush in his hand instantly drew a mysterious talisman behind him. Then the talisman light flashed, and a talisman array instantly appeared behind Su Mo. The black scale beast that was pouncing over instantly crashed into this runic array. Although the talisman array was quickly smashed by the black scale beast, the moment the black scale beast hit the talisman array, Su Mo immediately rolled on the ground and snatched the black scale beast's attack. Not bad. Tang Ao stood in the void and praised generously. In that situation, just now, if Su Mo could not react at all, Tang Ao would have instantly saved Su Mo. However, Su Mo was able to save himself, which made Tang Ao extremely happy, because this showed that although these disciples lacked combat experience, their combat talent was obviously not bad. Sect Master. After hearing Tang Ao's voice, Su Mo immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Although Tang Ao had previously told everyone that during the trial, if they encountered danger, as long as they immediately crushed the token, Tang Ao would immediately come to their rescue. However, Su Mo was a little worried in his heart. If he was too far away from Tang Ao's position, or if more disciples were in danger, whether Tang Ao could arrive in time. Now it seemed that Su Mo was completely worried. The moment she sent out a distress signal, Tang Ao immediately came here. After arriving here, Tang Ao even saw the battle between her and the black scale beast. Buzz! Tang Ao raised his right hand, and 7 green lotus swords instantly appeared beside Tang Ao. Immediately after Tang Ao raised his hand, the 7 green lotus swords suddenly trembled and immediately whistled towards the black scale beast below. At this moment, these 7 green lotus swords were like 7 meteors glowing with green light, suddenly roaring towards the ground. Feeling the dangerous aura from the green lotus swords, the 6 black scale beasts subconsciously wanted to escape. However, they were desperate to find that under Tang Ao's sword, Their bodies were completely stiff. Boom! As the ground shook and dust flew, the green light disappeared instantly. By the time all the dust had dispersed, the ground around Su-mo seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Perhaps it was because he had failed to refine the Grade 1 immortal array flags, but Tang Ao felt very depressed. Therefore, this time, Tang Ao did not have a good grasp of propriety. With one slash of his sword, the surrounding black scale beasts were directly turned into ashes by the thousands of sword chi. Seeing this scene, Sumo's little mouth opened slightly. Although he knew that this unbelievably young sect master's cultivation was unbelievably strong, he still couldn't believe it. However, after seeing Tang Ao make a move at such a close distance, Su-mo was still shocked speechless, because they were just below, and those black scale beasts were all around Su-mo just now. Therefore, Su-mo also clearly saw the scene of Tang Ao's 7 green lotus swords flying down in an instant and then killing these black scale beasts. The incomparably powerful black scale beasts, which were known for their defense, were actually like paper in front of Sect Master Tang Ao. They didn't even have time to scream before they were shredded into pieces by Tang Ao's fragments. Tang Ao used his spiritual power and then lifted Li Wunshu into his hand. After seeing the doubt in Sumo's eyes, Tang Ao said, "Continue with the trial. I'll take him back to heal." Chapter 2048. Su-mo had cultivated in the 7-kill school for many years, but she discovered that in this trial, her improvement was simply inconceivable. As long as she continued to train in the Black Cloud Mountain Range, Su-mo felt that her cultivation could absolutely break through the 6th level of the Origin Realm and step into the 7th level of the Origin Realm. Use Li Wunshu's badge and continue the trial. However, although your points will continue to accumulate, they will not be added to the ranking. Tang Ao did not care at all about Su-mo shattering the badge to ask for help. The goal of bringing everyone out this time was to train, not to test them. In that situation just now, if Su-mo was alone, she could have completely escaped. The main reason why Su-mo asked for help was because Li Wunshu was heavily injured and unconscious. Su-mo was too worried about Li Wunshu, so she asked for help. With Tang Ao's eyesight, naturally, he could tell with a glance that Su-mo, at that instant, was clearly in the crucial stage of breaking through. As long as she trained for a while longer, Su-mo could absolutely step into the 7th level of the Origin Realm. After hearing Tang Ao's words, Su-mo's heart rejoiced. Although her points would not be added to the overall ranking, she really needed this trial opportunity. "Thank you, school head. Go. If you meet any life-threatening danger, shatter the badge as well, and I will immediately come." After speaking, Tang Ao flashed in the air and immediately disappeared. When he reappeared, Tang Ao already brought Li Wunshu back to the camp. After Tang Ao returned to the camp, Zhongming immediately paid his respects. Tang Ao nodded. Although Tang Ao did not like the unnecessary formalities, the system of the school could not be messed up, or else, if every disciple greeted the school head like they were normal disciples, that would be a joke. Tang Ao took out a rank 1 pellet from his storage ring and gave it to Zhongming. Then, he said to Zhongming, "His injuries are quite heavy. In these 3 days, please take care of him. There are a total of 9 of these pellets. Every morning, take 1 and give it to him. 3 days later, Li Wunshu will wake up." "Yes, Sovereign." In fact, although Zhongming was a bit timid, he had a good relationship with Li Wunshu, so he was naturally willing to take care of Li Wunshu. But in this kind of situation, even if he had to take care of other brothers, Zhongming would not shirk it. Zhongming believed that if he was the one who was injured, his fellow disciples would be happy to take care of him. Although a traitor like Yi Guhong had appeared in the 7-kill sect's intersect, in general, the 7-kill sect was still a sect that cared about its fellow sect members. After handing over Li Wunshu to Zhongming to take care of, Tang Ao was just about to comprehend some problems with the array flags, when Tang Ao instantly received 3 distress messages. Tang Ao did not hesitate and immediately rushed to the location of the disciple who was asking for help. What surprised Tang Ao was that the three requests for help were all in the same place. Furthermore, the three of them had crushed their SOS tokens at the same time. At the same time, Tang Ao also realized that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Chapter 2049. Back then, the three of them had been in the same team. Now, the three of them were ranked third together. But at this moment, the three of them were heavily injured and lying on the ground. The one who injured them wasn't a demonic beast, but a martial artist emitting an evil aura. Tang Ao scanned them with his soul remembrance and understood that Han Xiao and the other two's essence blood had been sucked dry by this evil martial artist. At this moment, the evil-eyed martial artist was wiping away the blood at the corner of his mouth as he laughed strangely. I ate a few small fish, but I didn't expect to attract a big fish. Jiang Yuan looked at Tang Ao with an amused expression. Although he could feel the life and death aura on Tang Ao, Jiang Yuan didn't put Tang Ao in his eyes at all. The blood demon sect that Jiang Yuan was in had been in seclusion in the Black Cloud Mountain range for countless years. Originally, very few martial artists came to this place, so when Jiang Yuan cultivated, he absorbed beast blood. But this time, Jiang Yuan never expected that there would be martial artists specially coming here to train. Moreover, these martial artists were all very weak, only at the origin martial realm. If this was any other time, Jiang Yuan definitely wouldn't be interested in the essence blood of such weak martial artists. But there was no other way. In this period of time, there hadn't been any powerful martial artists coming to this area to train. Jiang Yuan couldn't suppress the bloodthirsty impulse in his body, so he left the blood demon sect and searched for martial artists nearby to absorb their essence blood. Originally, Jiang Yuan did not hold any hope. In this deep mountain forest, it could be said that there were as many monstrous beasts as one wanted, but human race martial artists were rarely seen in a year. But what Jiang Yuan never expected was that when he came out to try his luck, he would encounter Han Xiao and the other two. Without any hesitation, Jiang Yuan directly attacked Han Xiao and the other two. After absorbing the essence blood of Han Xiao and the other two, Jiang Yuan was originally prepared to kill them. But after seeing the SOS medallion on them, Jiang Yuan didn't hesitate at all and crushed 3 medallions at once, attracting Tang Ao over. Feeling the life and death spirit power undulations on Tang Ao, Jiang Yuan was so excited that he almost howled. Moreover, Tang Ao's blood also gave Jiang Yuan a very comfortable feeling. Jiang Yuan had already made up his mind to drink Tang Ao's blood. "Give me your blood to drink. I'll definitely let you die a quick death." Jiang Yuan acted as if he didn't see Tang Ao's ice-cold expression and continued to speak. "Have you thought about how you want to die?" Tang Ao bent down and fed Han Xiao and the other two a pill each. Then he injected the jade bone life soul into their bodies and began to heal them. At the same time, Tang Ao's tone was extremely cold. Having cultivated to the life and death realm, Tang Ao had rarely been this angry. But at this moment, Tang Ao's rage could not be quelled even if he crushed Jiang Yuan's bones and scattered his ashes. "Ha ha! This is the funniest joke Jiang Yuan, have ever heard in my life. I've changed my mind. I won't kill you quickly. I'll slowly." Jiang Yuan didn't continue. It wasn't that he didn't want to continue, but that he couldn't make a sound at this moment. It was unknown when Tang Ao had appeared in front of Jiang Yuan. At the same time, Tang Ao's hand was like a pair of iron pincers, grabbing Jiang Yuan's throat and lifting him up. Chapter 2050. However, Jiang Yuan didn't care because he was already at the 5th level of life and death realm. In the Black-Yellow continent, there were very few martial artists above the 5th level. Moreover, although Jiang Yuan was only at the 5th level of life and death realm, he could easily deal with opponents at the 6th or 7th level. However, Jiang Yuan didn't know that the Tang Ao he met this time was actually a peak 8th level life and death realm martial artist. At this moment, Jiang Yuan felt as though his soul was about to leave his body. If Jiang Yuan knew that these young men and women who were training here had a powerhouse like Tang Ao following behind them, he would definitely not dare to have any thoughts of doing anything to these disciples of Seven Kills sect, even if he wanted to die. Jiang Yuan knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. However, he still didn't think that Tang Ao would kill him. As long as he revealed his identity, Jiang Yuan believed that even if Tang Ao was at the peak of the 8th level, Tang Ao wouldn't dare to touch him. However, Jiang Yuan was worried that Tang Ao would kill him without giving him a chance to speak. If that happened, Jiang Yuan would die unjustly. At this moment, Jiang Yuan was constantly struggling in Tang Ao's hands and even had a pleading look in his eyes. Looking at Jiang Yuan's appearance, Tang Ao knew that Jiang Yuan had something to say. Although Tang Ao wouldn't let Jiang Yuan go, now that Jiang Yuan had something to say, Tang Ao would naturally let him know the reason for his death. Tang Ao raised his hand and threw Jiang Yuan away as if he was throwing trash. After being thrown away by Tang Ao, Jiang Yuan didn't slow down at all. Instead, he immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Tang Ao a few times before saying, "Senior, please spare my life. This junior didn't mean to offend you. I didn't know that these people were your disciples. Otherwise, even if this junior wanted to take things too hard, I wouldn't have dared to attack your disciples. Is this all you want to say?" Tang Ao's voice was emotionless. When Jiang Yuan sucked out the essence blood of Han Xiao Xiao and the other two, he was destined to die. Although the sect master was too protective, it would cause the disciples of the sect to be too lawless when they walked outside, doing whatever they wanted. However, Tang Ao believed that his current behavior could not be considered as protecting his own. If Jiang Yuan was only at the origin realm, then even if Jiang Yuan used some methods to drain the blood of Han Xiao Xiao and the other two, Tang Ao could only say that Han Xiao Xiao and the other two were inferior, and he could not blame anyone else. In Tang Ao's eyes, there was no such thing as allowing the disciples of the Seven Kills sect to kill others and not allowing the disciples of other sects to kill the Seven Kills sect's disciples. But at that instant, Jiang Yuan, who was at the 5th level of the life and death realm, was bullying a few origin realm children. That was extremely excessive. Therefore, Tang Ao did not hesitate to sentence Jiang Yuan to death. "Senior, you can't kill me. You should be a senior from the Seven Kills sect, right? I'm a cultivator of the Blood Demon sect. Our Blood Demon sect has never had any conflicts with your Seven Kills sect. I am the grandson of the Blood Demon ancestor. Senior, if you kill me, you will be forming an irreconcilable hatred with the Blood Demon sect." Chapter 2051. In fact, this wasn't the first time that Jiang Yuan had been defeated by an expert from the Seven Kills sect. Many years ago, Jiang Yuan had sucked the blood of a passing caravan in the Black Clouds mountain range and encountered the sect master of the Seven Kills sect, Luo Guxiao. After a great battle, Jiang Yuan was defeated by Luo Guxiao. Just when Luo Guxiao was about to kill Jiang Yuan revealed the Blood Demon ancestor behind him. Later on, the Blood Demon ancestor also appeared. However, he didn't dare to do anything to Luo Guxiao because he was afraid of the Supreme Elder of the Seven Kills sect, Fengya. The second time was a few years ago. The Supreme Elder of the Seven Kills sect, Fengya, passed by this place and saw Jiang Yuan absorbing the blood of others to cultivate. Fengya was furious. If the Blood Demon ancestor hadn't arrived in time, Jiang Yuan would have been killed by Fengya. This was the third time that Jiang Yuan had fallen into the hands of an expert from the Seven Kills sect. "Are you done?" Jiang Yuan didn't expect that the Blood Demon ancestor, who had worked many times before, would be useless against Tang Ao. Jiang Yuan could tell that the person in front of him was from the Seven Kills sect. However, from the other party's eyes, Jiang Yuan could tell that Tang Ao wasn't afraid of the Blood Demon ancestor at all. Seeing that Tang Ao wasn't afraid of the Blood Demon ancestor at all, Jiang Yuan was extremely anxious. Previously, when the Blood Demon ancestor was in the sect, he could easily summon the Blood Demon ancestor when he encountered danger. However, he couldn't do so this time because the Blood Demon ancestor was in seclusion to break through to the next realm. At this moment, He couldn't contact the blood demon ancestor at all. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuan didn't dare to stay any longer. He directly shot a blood arrow at Tang Ao. Immediately, his body turned into a blood mist and instantly flew into the distance. Tang Ao's spiritual energy swept out and swept Han Xiao Xiao and the other two into his chaotic hexagram mirror. Then, Tang Ao took a step and appeared above the wind thunder dark cloud. If Tang Ao was willing, Jiang Yuan would not be able to escape. However, Tang Ao was very interested in the blood demon sect that Jiang Yuan had mentioned. Since there was such a vicious sect nearby, and Tang Ao had brought the disciples of the Seven Kills sect here for training, Tang Ao immediately decided that he would do justice on behalf of the heavens and completely eradicate this evil sect. However, Tang Ao didn't know where the blood demon sect was. Tang Ao had used his soul remembrance to search the surrounding 10,000 kilometers, but hadn't found any trace of the blood demon sect. Thus, Tang Ao could only follow Jiang Yuan to see where the blood demon sect was. Originally, Jiang Yuan was very afraid of Tang Ao. However, when he saw that Tang Ao couldn't stop him when he escaped, Jiang Yuan immediately knew that he must have overestimated Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao was a peak 8th level life and death realm warrior, Tang Ao wasn't as strong as he imagined. If it were any other peak 8th level life and death realm expert, even if he could escape, it wouldn't be so easy. Seeing that Tang Ao was only following him from afar, Jiang Yuan's heart suddenly moved. The blood demon ancestor was in seclusion in the sect, and even he couldn't call him out. However, if someone attacked the blood demon sect, the blood demon ancestor would definitely come out early to kill this person. Thinking about how he had kowtowed to Tang Ao a few times, Jiang Yuan felt a wave of anger in his heart. Jiang Yuan immediately decided that he would lure Tang Ao into the blood demon sect and then have the blood demon ancestor kill Tang Ao. Not long ago, he had received news that the supreme elder of the Seven Kills sect, Fengya, had already ascended. In other words, in the entire Seven Kills sect, there was no martial artist who could match the blood demon ancestor. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuan also slowly slowed down, as if he was afraid that Tang Ao wouldn't be able to catch up. Tang Ao naturally saw that Jiang Yuan's speed had slowed down. After seeing Jiang Yuan slow down, Tang Ao's heart immediately moved. Could the blood demon sect have already arrived? However, Tang Ao quickly realized that he had judged wrongly. This was because Jiang Yuan had slowed down at this time. It was obvious that Jiang Yuan had seen that he hadn't caught up to him for a long time and was afraid that he wouldn't be able to catch up. Thinking of this, Tang Ao sneered in his heart. With the speed of the wind thundercloud, even if he gave Jiang Yuan a day's advance, the wind thundercloud would only need a few breaths to catch up to Jiang Yuan. At the same time, Tang Ao also understood that Jiang Yuan had suddenly slowed down because he wanted to lure him into the blood demon sect and then use the blood demon ancestor to get rid of him. Chapter 2052. This time, Tang Ao had already made up his mind to eradicate the blood demon sect. Since Jiang Yuan was willing to lead the way, it couldn't be any better. Seeing that Tang Ao was indeed chasing after him with all his might, Jiang Yuan sneered inwardly. In his opinion, the faster Tang Ao flew, the faster Tang Ao would die. After coldly glancing at Tang Ao, Jiang Yuan continued to flee in the direction of the blood demon sect. As for whether or not Tang Ao was purposely not catching up, Jiang Yuan didn't think it was possible, because Jiang Yuan was currently using the blood demon sect's top escape art, blood mist technique. His entire body was shrouded in blood chi, and his spiritual power was surging. The blood demon ancestor had once said that even some ordinary astral-reaching martial artist wouldn't be able to catch up to his blood mist technique. Although the blood demon ancestor wasn't an astral-reaching martial artist, as his grandson, Jiang Yuan knew that the blood demon ancestor was yin-yang realm expert of the true martial realm. Compared to the peak 9th level astral-reaching martial artists of the Black Yellow continent, he was a level stronger, However, because he had been heavily injured, he had only recovered to the peak of 9th level life and death realm. The blood demon ancestor had once told his direct descendants that although his cultivation base was only at the peak of 9th level life and death realm, he had 70% chance of winning against an ordinary astral reaching martial artist. This 7-kill sex Tang Ao was merely at the peak of 8th level life and death realm. As long as he reached the blood demon sect, the blood demon ancestor would be able to crush Tang Ao with one hand. Tang Ao didn't know what Jiang Yuan was thinking at this moment, but Tang Ao felt that Jiang Yuan's blood mist technique might be the worst he had seen since he started cultivating. Even Blood Vulture's blood mist technique was far superior to Jiang Yuan's. As for Blood Scar's blood mist technique, it was dozens of streets ahead of Jiang Yuan. It was just that Tang Ao's comparison was really unfair to Jiang Yuan. This was because Blood Vulture had been a top-notch powerhouse in the Turbid Heaven stage when he was at his peak. Even the Blood Demon ancestor could only be considered a disciple in front of Blood Vulture. As for Xue Hen, he was a genius cultivator who cultivated blood attribute cultivation methods. Jiang Yuan could only be said to be slightly talented in cultivating blood attribute cultivation methods. How could he be compared to a top genius like Xue Hen? Phew, Tang Ao felt very tired. It wasn't because chasing Jiang Yuan made Tang Ao feel very tired, but because he had to pretend that he couldn't catch up to Jiang Yuan, which made Tang Ao feel very tired. Otherwise, if Tang Ao wanted to catch up to Jiang Yuan, in a breath's time, the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud appeared in front of Jiang Yuan. Moreover, it would be very easy for Tang Ao to kill Jiang Yuan now. After reaching Life and Death Realm Level 8, Tang Ao's power had reached an extremely horrifying level. Finally, after flying for some distance, an extremely powerful defensive array appeared in Tang Ao's soul remembrance. This defensive array protected a sect that didn't seem very large. Inside this sect, Tang Ao didn't see many disciples, but he could feel a dense bloody aura. Sweeping his soul remembrance across the various halls, Tang Ao's gaze instantly turned ice cold. These halls imprisoned many ordinary people and low-rank martial artists. These people were all tied to pillars, and when the blood demon sect's martial artists cultivated, their blood would be extracted. Jiang Yuan naturally saw the blood demon sect's entrance very quickly. Immediately, Jiang Yuan wildly laughed. Tang Ao, you dare to come to my blood demon sect? You're dead. Chapter 2053. Even in death, Jiang Yuan didn't understand why there was such a powerful immortal artifact in this world. Similarly, he didn't understand why Tang Ao would let him run back to Blood Demon Sect if he could kill him so easily. Carrying too many doubts, Jiang Yuan completely disappeared from this world. Killed by the mysterious sky arrow, Jiang Yuan's soul was shattered, not even having the chance to reincarnate. Bang! At this moment, an incomparably powerful spiritual power soared into the sky from the depths of Blood Demon Sect. As this spiritual power spread out, the surrounding mountains and forests howled endlessly. The demonic beasts nearby were so frightened that they prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to move. Who dares act so impudently in my blood demon sect? Soon after, a blood-red figure soared into the sky and appeared in front of Tang Ao in the blink of an eye. This seat is 7-kill sect's leader, Tang Ao. I'm in a good mood today, so I've come from far away to send you blood demon sect demonic beasts on your way. Tang Ao knew that this skinny old man shrouded in blood mist was the blood demon ancestor that Jiang Yuan spoke of. Jiang Yuan was right. The blood demon ancestor was indeed at the peak of 9th level life and death realm. Such a cultivation base could already be considered a peak expert in the current black-yellow continent. Moreover, Tang Ao could feel that the spiritual power within the blood demon ancestor's body was incomparably pure, and his blood qi surged endlessly. Perhaps even an ordinary first-level astral reaching martial artist might not be his opponent. Sure enough, after hearing Tang Ao's words, the blood demon ancestor immediately burst into an unbridled laughter. This old man has lived for several tens of thousands of years, and this is the first time I've encountered such an insolent junior like you. Fine, fine, this old man will let you know what it means by there is always someone better out there. As the blood demon ancestor spoke, he waved his hand, and a sea of blood appeared around Tang Ao. It seemed as if it wanted to completely envelop Tang Ao. This kind of method would absolutely frighten ordinary life and death martial artists, but Tang Ao wasn't the least bit afraid. This was because this move of the blood demon ancestor was completely imitating an astral-reaching martial artist attack. It seemed to possess boundless might, but in reality, it was only a bluff. Tang Ao didn't waste any time. He pulled the primordial sacred sky bow. Tang Ao's hand gesture changed, and the original profound sky arrow turned into 9 arrows. After pulling the bowstring to its limit, Tang Ao suddenly turned his hand over. In an instant, a destructive aura swept out from the primordial sacred heaven bow, and the surrounding blood sea churned under this powerful aura. The 9 mysterious sky arrows shot by Tang Ao were like 9 comets that swept through the sky. They streaked across the horizon and headed straight for the blood demon ancestor. The blood demon ancestor pushed out his hands, and thick spiritual energy instantly swept out. Then, high walls made of blood energy appeared in front of the blood demon ancestor. However, when the mysterious sky arrows bombarded the blood chi walls, they directly shattered them inch by inch. Then, their momentum didn't decrease in the slightest as they continued to crush the blood demon ancestor. The blood demon ancestor was caught unprepared by Tang Ao. Although he tried his best to dodge, he was still hit by an arrow from Tang Ao. With just one arrow, one of the blood demon ancestor's arms was shattered by the mysterious sky arrow. As for the mysterious sky arrows that were snatched by the blood demon ancestor, they directly bombarded the blood demon sect's great protective array. This defensive array was already a top-grade spiritual array. However, in front of the mysterious sky arrows, it was like a piece of paper. In an instant, the blood demon sect's great hall turned into ruins. Chapter 2054. When the blood demon ancestor saw that all his disciples and grand disciples had been killed by Tang Ao, he immediately roared in anger. The flames of anger seemed to want to ignite the entire world. Little bastard, if I don't crush your bones and scatter your ashes, I am not a human. As he spoke, the aura on the blood demon ancestor's body suddenly changed. Waves of blood-colored aura converged from all directions, forming a domain surrounded by blood-colored aura and special fluctuations behind the blood demon ancestor. Yin-Yang domain. So, it's a junior at the Yin-Yang realm. Tang Ao was completely spouting nonsense this time. Even at his peak in his previous life, Tang Ao had only been at the peak of astral-reaching realm 9th level. There was still a long way to go before he reached the Yin-Yang realm. Therefore, since the blood demon ancestor could display the Yin-Yang domain shadow, it meant that the blood demon ancestor must have been an Yin-Yang realm expert at his peak. Originally, the blood demon ancestor had displayed the Yin-Yang domain shadow with the intention of killing Tang Ao. However, when the blood demon ancestor heard Tang Ao's words, he was instantly stunned. Yin-Yang Rel Jr.? The fact that Tang Ao could recognize the blood demon ancestor's Yin-Yang domain meant that Tang Ao was not an ordinary person. Otherwise, with Tang Ao's cultivation at the peak of life and death realm 8th level, he would not have been able to force the blood demon ancestor to this extent. Could this young man in front of him be an Yin-Yang realm expert like him? Or could it be that the other party's cultivation at his peak was even stronger than the Yin-Yang realm? Who are you? The blood demon ancestor immediately exclaimed. At this moment, the blood demon ancestor really did not have any confidence in his heart. If it was just an ordinary life and death realm expert, even if the other party was a bit more powerful, the blood demon ancestor was confident that he could use the Yin-Yang domain to kill him. However, if Tang Ao was an expert even stronger than him, then the blood demon ancestor could only use the blood shadow escape to escape. Even if the other party was a chaotic sky realm expert, under the restriction of the chaotic sky realm's domain, even if he wanted to use the blood shadow escape, he would not be able to escape at all unless he had the space-breaking talisman. But did he have the space-breaking talisman? No. If the blood demon ancestor had the space-breaking talisman, he would not have stayed in this godforsaken place for 10,000 years. Since you want to know, I'll show you who I am. As Tang Ao spoke, he instantly released his underworld life soul. Suddenly, the entire world darkened. Chilly winds howled in the surroundings, and netherworld chi filled the air. Then, behind Tang Ao, a pitch-black gate of the netherworld that was shrouded in black fog slowly opened. After the gate of the underworld appeared, a huge claw that seemed like it could tear the entire world apart reached out. The huge claw was covered in scales that glittered with a cold light, and the protruding joints seemed to contain explosive power. Nether Ghost Hand, you are Lord Ming Di's reincarnation. Lord Ming Di, please spare my life. The blood demon ancestor was scared out of his wits when he saw this huge, pitch-black claw. Who was Emperor Hades? He was one of the top experts in ancient times and was known as the strongest person below the Tao Master. If Ming Di had not been ambushed by Primordial Magnetic Lord, he would definitely be a Tao Master now. However, even after being ambushed by Primordial Magnetic Lord, Emperor Hades had still reincarnated. Moreover, he was only at the 8th level of the life and death realm, yet he was able to display a divine ability that could change the color of the world. The blood demon ancestor did not even have the thought of escaping at this moment. He did not doubt that he would be torn to shreds by Emperor Hades' nether ghost hand before he could escape with the blood shadow escape. Chapter 2055. The move that Tang Ao was using now was similar to the blood demon ancestor's yin-yang domain. It was an empty form, but it was not real. However, the blood demon ancestor was already scared out of his wits by Tang Ao. How could he consider so much? In addition, Tang Ao had already awakened the netherworld life soul, so his imitation was even more vivid. With this level of imitation, only those who were very familiar with Netherworld Arch, or those who personally tested it out, would be able to know the truth of Tang Ao's move. Unfortunately, the blood demon ancestor was not familiar with Netherworld Arch at all. As for asking the blood demon ancestor to test Netherworld Arch, he would not dare to do so even if he had the guts. Seeing that Tang Ao did not speak, and that the nether ghost hand was still reaching out towards the netherworld gate, the blood demon ancestor could not care less. He immediately knelt in the void. Senior Netherworld Arch, please spare my life. I am willing to offer my soul imprint for you to use. Oh, originally, Tang Ao had thought of using the primordial sacred heavenly bow to ambush the blood demon ancestor, and then using the 8 desolate sword chi to kill the blood demon ancestor. This was because the blood demon ancestor's current strength was slightly stronger than Tang Ao's. The reason why the blood demon ancestor had been beaten so badly by Tang Ao was because Tang Ao had taken the initiative. That was because Tang Ao had made the first move. He had immediately used the grade 9 primordial sacred heavenly bow to attack. Although the blood demon ancestor was strong, Tang Ao had not seen the blood demon ancestor take out any decent treasures since the start of the battle. The blood demon ancestor was obviously very poor. You also know that I have some enmity with the origin magnetic field. Since you know my identity, how would I dare to keep you here? Tang Ao did not directly agree to the blood demon ancestor's request. Instead, he spoke matter-of-factly. In fact, Tang Ao was more than willing to accept a free fighter like the blood demon ancestor. Back then, the 7 major forces dared to besiege the 7 Kill sect because they had too few top powerhouses. If Tang Ao had a helper like the blood demon ancestor back then, Morongji and the others would have been forced to stay in the 7 Kill sect by Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao wanted to subdue the blood demon ancestor now, Tang Ao knew very well that although the blood demon ancestor was willing to let go of his soul and let him plant a soul imprint, the blood demon ancestor was still hesitant. This was because the moment someone was branded with a soul brand, they would forever become his servant. Although he could survive this way, the price he had to pay was too great. Junior understands. Junior will definitely keep his mouth shut and dare not reveal Senior's identity. Tang Ao's thoughts were absolutely correct. At this moment, the blood demon ancestor was struggling internally. If he fought hard now, he might be able to escape using the blood shadow evasion while Tang Ao was not paying attention. But if he didn't risk his life, he would forever be Tang Ao's slave. As he thought of this, the blood demon ancestor started to hesitate. This emperor does not trust you. However, this emperor will give you a chance to reincarnate. Just as the blood demon ancestor was hesitating, Tang Ao suddenly raised his hand and pressed it down. Chapter 2056. Even if the blood demon ancestor was more monstrous than Shweskar, he still wouldn't be able to break the soul seal of this level. After being branded with such a powerful soul seal by Tang Ao, the blood demon ancestor let out a sigh of relief. The fact that Tang Ao had branded such a powerful soul seal in the depths of his soul meant that Tang Ao had truly let him go. A bad life is better than a good death. Even ants are greedy for life. When the blood demon ancestor first arrived at the black-yellow continent, he was gravely injured and on the verge of death. Even then, he struggled to survive and cultivated to the peak of the 9th level of life and death realm. Therefore, as long as he could survive this time, the blood demon ancestor was absolutely not willing to die. Moreover, when he cultivated to the 6th level of Yin-Yang realm, he had already reached his limit. Now, he could follow an ancient expert like Emperor Hades. Apart from not having freedom, it could also be said to be his fortune. In his previous life, Emperor Hades was the #1 expert below Tao sovereigns. Now that he had reincarnated in this life, his strength was bound to be even greater than before. If nothing unexpected happened, it wouldn't be long before Emperor Hades regained his throne and became a Tao sovereign. When Emperor Hades became a Tao sovereign, it would be time for the blood demon ancestor to make a meteoric rise. Lord Emperor Hades, where are we going next? In front of Tang Ao, the blood demon ancestor asked with a terrified expression. Hearing the blood demon ancestor's words, Tang Ao's expression turned cold. Then, he said indifferently, "In the future, don't call me Emperor Hades. I am now the sect leader of the 7 Kills sect. You can call me sect leader." Although he had subdued the blood demon ancestor by relying on Emperor Hades' might, Tang Ao still didn't dare to keep pretending to be Emperor Hades. Tang Ao had inherited Emperor Hades' 9 dragons jade body, so Emperor Hades could be considered as Tang Ao's ancestor. Therefore, Tang Ao immediately corrected the blood demon ancestor. "Yes, sect leader." How could the blood demon ancestor dare to disobey Tang Ao's words? With a single thought from Tang Ao, he would immediately turn into ashes. This is a star-breaking pill. You can attack the astral reaching realm now. I'll protect you. As Tang Ao spoke, he threw a pill shrouded in spiritual aura to blood demon ancestor. At present, blood demon ancestor's cultivation base was already at the peak of the 9th layer of life and death realm, and he was only a step away from the astral reaching realm. Tang Ao guessed that the reason why blood demon ancestor hadn't stepped into astral reaching realm yet was most likely because he didn't have a star-breaking pellet. The star-breaking pellet was a necessary pellet for peak level 9 life and death realm warriors to reach the astral reaching realm, and the star-breaking pellet was also a rank 1 immortal pellet. In the current black-yellow continent, there was not a single alchemist who could refine the star-breaking pill. In fact, even the star-breaking pill could only be found in some undiscovered ancient era's remnants. It was also because of this that blood demon ancestor had been stuck at the 9th layer of life and death realm for 1,000 years without the opportunity to attack the astral reaching realm. Otherwise, if the blood demon ancestor were to attack the astral reaching realm, it would be hard to say who would win the battle between Tang Ao and the blood demon ancestor. After seeing the star-breaking pellet, the blood demon ancestor's mood immediately became extremely excited. Star-breaking pellet. He had bitterly searched for 1,000 years in the black-yellow continent, exploring countless ruins, yet he still couldn't find the star-breaking pellet. If he were in the true martial realm, even without the star-breaking pellet, the blood demon ancestor could still attack the astral-reaching realm with the help of the true martial realm's immortal spirit chi. Chapter 2057. Blood demon ancestor had been stuck at the peak of 9th layer life and death realm for 1,000 years. This time, he didn't need to make any preparations to break through to the astral reaching realm. After landing on the ground, blood demon ancestor was about to use the star-breaking pill to attack the astral reaching realm. However, Tang Ao's voice also rang out at this time. "Wait, take this Dao gathering pill first," Tang Ao said as he tossed a jade box at the blood demon ancestor. Upon hearing the words Dao condensation pill, the blood demon ancestor felt his head buzz. He could not react in time. This was not because the blood demon ancestor did not know what kind of pill the Dao assembly pill was. It was because the blood demon ancestor was too familiar with the Dao assembly pill that he was so shocked. Previously, when the blood demon ancestor was in the desolate martial realm, he had cultivated to the 6th level of the yin-yang realm. After cultivating for 10,000 years, his cultivation had not improved at all. At that time, the blood demon ancestor knew that his cultivation had reached its limit. With his martial Dao talent, yin-yang realm level 6 would be the end of his martial Dao. However, the blood demon ancestor was unwilling to give up. In a place like the desolate martial realm, the 6th level of the yin-yang realm was, to put it nicely, a middle-level warrior. To put it bluntly, he was still an ant. What was the purpose of cultivation? Naturally, he did not want to submit to fate and wanted to defy the heavens and change his fate. Therefore, the blood demon ancestor began to search for the Dao gathering pill frantically. After spending 10,000 years, not only did the blood demon ancestor fail to obtain the Dao gathering pill, but he was also hunted down by a chaotic heaven stage powerhouse because of the news of the Dao gathering pill. In the end, he escaped to the black-yellow continent after being heavily injured. However, the blood demon ancestor had effortlessly obtained the Dao condensation pill from Tang Ao. At that moment, the blood demon ancestor secretly rejoiced. He had made the right choice between fleeing or allowing Tang Ao to brand him with a soul imprint. With this Dao condensation pill, his martial arts foundation could be consolidated once again. After that, his martial arts talent would be enhanced, and the height of his growth would be raised once again. At this moment, the blood demon ancestor secretly made up his mind to follow Tang Ao well in the future. Rumor had it that Emperor Hades was cold and aloof. But at this moment, how was Tang Ao aloof and cold? How was he unreasonable? Ignoring the blood demon ancestor's ever-changing and complicated expression, Tang Ao urged, "I still have something to do. Hurry up." "Yes." Upon hearing Tang Ao's words, the blood demon ancestor immediately returned to his senses. The blood demon ancestor left the pill pavilion and immediately consumed the Dao gathering pill. After the blood demon ancestor consumed the Dao condensation pill, the blood demon ancestor immediately felt that his bones and meridians were instantly crushed, and his entire body felt as if it was being burned by a raging fire. However, the blood demon ancestor was elated. As this pain persisted, he could clearly sense that his bloodline, bones, and soul remembrance were continuously strengthening. This was the heaven-defying effect of the Dao pill. It was also because of this that the blood demon ancestor had been so determined to obtain a Dao pill in his previous life. Very quickly, this feeling gradually calmed down. However, the blood demon ancestor knew that the Dao condensation pill would still be effective in his body for a long time come. However, what he needed to do at the moment was not to observe the effects of the Dao condensation pill, but to attack the astral reaching realm. After adjusting his state, the blood demon ancestor consumed the star-breaking pill. Chapter 2058. Looking at the pile of extreme grade spirit stones around him, the blood demon ancestor was already numb. This was because Tang Ao was truly too rich. At the same time, Tang Ao was not stingy at all towards a servant like him. With so many extreme grade spirit stones, the aura on the blood demon ancestor's body soared. Not long after, countless thundercloud condensed in the air. Finally, a frightening thunderbolt poured down from above the blood demon ancestor. Looking at this thunderbolt, the blood demon ancestor directly sent out a blood palm, directly blocking the thunderbolt. Then, the blood demon ancestor's body suddenly expanded, directly lifting off the ground and flying in the air. All of a sudden, the sky was filled with blood chi, and endless thunderbolts rumbled down. These thunderbolts frightened the demonic beasts in the surrounding mountains, causing them to scatter in all directions as if they had gone mad. However, the blood demon ancestor stood firm, blocking all of these thunderbolts. After half an hour, when the last thunderbolt descended, Tang Ao knew that the blood demon ancestor was now a true astral-reaching expert. Moreover, because of the millions of extreme grade spirit stones, the blood demon ancestor's cultivation base had also directly crossed the first level of astral-reaching realm, reaching the early second level. Feeling the surging spiritual power and explosive power in his body, the blood demon ancestor was filled with gratitude towards Tang Ao, because everything he had was given to him by Tang Ao. Not bad. Seeing the blood demon ancestor directly cross the first level of astral-reaching realm to the second level, Tang Ao was also not stingy in his praise. Then, Tang Ao thought for a moment and said to the blood demon ancestor, "Follow me well from now on. The day I kill Yuan Feng will be the day you regain your freedom." Yuan Mo had always wanted to obtain the jade body of the Nine-Dragon Emperor. However, Tang Ao was the only person who possessed the jade body of the Nine-Dragon Emperor in the entire true martial world. Therefore, one didn't need to think to know that Tang Ao and Yuan Mo would fight. This old servant understands. After Tang Ao finished speaking, the blood demon ancestor nodded. "All right, now follow me back to the Black Cloud Mountains. When a 7-kill sect disciples trial is over, we'll return together. In addition, you can only absorb beast blood in the future, not human martial artists." When he said this, Tang Ao's voice was a little cold. The blood demon ancestor nodded immediately. Even though the blood demon ancestor's speed wasn't slow when he used the blood mist technique, he still couldn't catch up with Tang Ao, who was using the wind thunderdark cloud. Moreover, the blood demon ancestor didn't know that in order to wait for him, he could not catch up to Tang Ao. Moreover, what the blood demon ancestor didn't know was that Tang Ao didn't even use his full strength. Ye of the chaotic six Yun sect disciples. Of the Tang the demon ancestor, Cloud demon, and demon time, of Tang demon Shun and Ao's time. And in time, Tang demon Ao time. Time, the Cloud demon Ling sect, Yang sect, the sect, he the time. Tang Ao waved his hand, and Han Xiao and the other two were swept out of the chaotic six-light mirror. At this moment, although the three of them were still unconscious, their complexions were much better, and their lives were no longer in danger. For a long time, no disciple asked for help from Tang Ao, and everyone's points were slowly increasing. After Han Xiao and the other two woke up, they knew that Tang Ao had saved the three of them. Chapter 2059. Although the results were not included in the overall ranking, the three of them were still very happy to be able to continue the trial. Because of this period of time, the three of them had grown very quickly. Moreover, the cooperation between the three of them had also become more and more tacit. After Li Wenshu, who had recovered from his injuries, received Tang Ao's approval and continued the second trial with Zhong Ming. During this period of time, Tang Ao had been studying formations, while the blood demon ancestor had been stabilizing his cultivation and making the best use of his time to absorb and refine the medicinal power of the Tao condensation pill. 3 months passed very quickly. On the last day, Tang Ao used the token in his hand to summon all the disciples back to the campsite. After the trial, everyone's ranking was also determined. The first place in this trial was not the first on the Dragon and Phoenix leaderboard, nor was it the first genius of the inner sect, Chu Xian. Instead, it was a young man called Wei Pohu. Wei Pohu's hair was very short, only a thin layer. He only wore an unlined shirt, and his explosive muscles made him look very powerful. After asking, Tang Ao also knew why Wei Pohu did not have any points in the previous period of time. It turned out that Wei Pohu's luck was exceptionally good. After the trial began, he found a clear spiritual spring in the dark clouds mountains. After that, Wei Pohu began to cultivate near the clear spiritual spring. In a short few days, Wei Pohu's cultivation continuously increased to the 7th level of the origin martial realm. He also learned the first level of the 7 slaughter holy path. Different from Tang Ao, Wei Pohu used a steel rod. Therefore, the martial skill that Wei Pohu derived using the 7 slaughter holy path was naturally a rod technique. After hearing that Wei Pohu had actually comprehended the first level of the 7 slaughter holy path, everyone was extremely envious. However, it was obvious that Wei Pohu was not the only one who comprehended the first level of the 7 slaughter holy path. This was because Chu Xian had also comprehended the first level of the 7 slaughter holy path. He was worthy of the title of the first genius of the inner sect. Therefore, in this trial's ranking, Chu Xian's ranking was only below Wei Pohu. Obviously, after comprehending the first level of the 7 slaughter holy path, Chu Xian's battle power had greatly increased. At this moment, the 5 disciples who would be accompanying Tang Ao to Mystic Heaven City were also confirmed. They were Wei Pohu, Chu Xian, Tai Zheng, Bai Qing, and Diying. Tang Ao was very unfamiliar with Diying. However, this taciturn disciple was clearly quite strong. Among the top 20 experts on the Dragon and Phoenix leaderboards, he was ranked 5th in terms of points. Moreover, Tang Ao discovered that after a short 3 months of training, everyone's aura had changed greatly, and their strength had increased by a lot. Right now, the one with the highest cultivation, Chu Xian, was at the peak of the 8th level of the Origin Realm. He was only a step away from the 9th level of the Origin Realm. With a wave of his hand, Tang Ao took out the flying spirit boat once again. Although they had seen this magnificent flying spirit boat before and had even personally ridden it to this place, they were still shocked when they saw it again. Through this trial, everyone's cultivation and battle experience had increased significantly. Therefore, when they returned to the 7 Kills sect, all the disciples were extremely excited. Chapter 2060. It wasn't long before the entrance of the 7 Kills sect appeared before Tang Ao. Tang Ao circulated his spirit energy and controlled the airship to slowly descend onto the Dao development field. When Tang Ao and the disciples who went out to train returned, Jing Wushang and the other sect elders had already arranged for the disciples to welcome the sect master back. Senior brother Tang Ao, your method is really good. The auras of these little fellows have become much sharper, said Jing Wushang immediately after Tang Ao put the airship away. Yes, Tang Ao nodded and asked, did anything happen in the sect during this period of time? Everything is normal in the sect during this period of time, and the 7 great powers haven't made any unusual movements, replied Jiang Zhulu immediately after Tang Ao asked. When Tang Ao left, Jiang Zhulu was basically managing the sect's affairs. That's good. Is there still no news of senior brother Dongswini? While Tang Ao led the disciples out to train, Tang Ao had asked Jiang Zhulu to search for Dongswini's whereabouts. But when he saw Jiang Zhulio's dejected expression, Tang Ao knew that Dongswini still hadn't been found. However, unlike Jiang Zhulu and the others, Tang Ao wasn't really worried about Dongswini. Even though he didn't know where Dongswini was with his strength, he was definitely living comfortably. However, this time around, Tang Ao was completely wrong. The reason for that was because Dongxian Yu was still competing with the Sky Steel Rock. I'll set up the sect guarding Grand Array again in the next few days. 3 days from now, I, guest Elder Jiang Shou, and Elder Jing Wushang will lead 5 inner court disciples to Profound Heaven City to participate in the Black Heaven meeting. If there's anything else, you can look for me at the Sect Master's Hall at any time. Tang Ao left the Tao development field as soon as he finished speaking. This time, Tang Ao wanted to set up a first-grade immortal array for the sect guarding Grand Array. But until now, there was still an urgent problem that Tang Ao had to solve, and that was that Tang Ao still couldn't refine a grade, one immortal array's array flags. After returning to the Sect Master's Hall, Tang Ao immediately went to the Sect Master's cultivation room and started to look for the reason for his failure. Tang Ao didn't continue looking at the abandoned formation flags. Instead, he took out a set of formation flags he obtained from Great Dream Tao Venerates Tao Palace. This set of array flags was Tao Master's collection, and its grade was terrifyingly high, and it was a grade 7 immortal array. If Tang Ao wasn't able to refine the grade 1 immortal array flags, then he could only use this set of precious array flags. Tang Yang able to use it. Tang Sex Aot able to use array flags. Tang Sex Tang Spirit Long. Who with the array flags. After his soul remembrance seeped in, Tang Ao's soul remembrance began to sense the array flags. Tang Ao's soul remembrance slowly wandered along the path of the inscription array in the array flag. Subsequently, Tang Ao discovered that apart from the extremely high level of these inscription arrays, there was no difference from the inscription arrays he had carved himself. However, what Tang Ao didn't understand was that the inscription array he had carved had a conflict of spirit power, which led to the destruction of the array flags. However, the inscription array in the array flags was perfectly combined. This question made Tang Ao very confused. However, as he observed the array flags, Tang Ao quickly found that something was wrong. There was another mysterious thing in the array flags besides the inscription array. This thing was similar to the laws of heaven and earth. The laws of heaven and earth. Thinking of this, Tang Ao's spirit was lifted. At the same time, Tang Ao understood what his inscription array was lacking. The inscription array he had carved was to combine all the mysterious patterns and runes according to the requirements. However, because Tang Ao didn't integrate his own understanding of the laws of heaven and earth into the inscription array, it caused Tang Ao's inscription array to be a pool of stagnant water. Under the torrential rain, the water in the pool had nowhere to drain, which led to the destruction of the array flags. Therefore, the reason Tang Ao failed to refine the grade 1 immortal array flags was not because of the conflict of spirit power, but because his understanding of the grade 1 immortal array was not thorough enough. Chapter 2061. The Sect Master's cultivation room was scorching hot. In the middle of the cultivation room, there was a smithing furnace with raging flames. As Tang Ao's hand seals changed, array flags began to swirl within the crafting furnace, before gradually taking shape. After they took shape, Tang Ao's powerful psyche instantly seeped into the interior of the array flags. Then he started to carve patterns that looked like meridians inside the array flags. These lines crisscrossed and twisted thousands of times, looking very profound and complicated. Traces of spiritual power flowed along these profound patterns, causing these patterns to glow faintly. A moment later, an array flag was refined by Tang Ao. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water, and it was done in one go. Looking at the array flag in his hand, Tang Ao was very satisfied. During this period of time, Tang Ao's grade 1 array flags had already reached the limit of grade 1 array flags. Besides terrifying cultivation speed, a martial artist with the 9 Dragons Emperor's J-body also had shocking comprehension. This time, Tang Ao refined a lot of array flags. Because he wanted to set up the 7 kills sect protecting array, Tang Ao refined a total of 360 array flags. 8 hours later, Tang Ao's 360 immortal array flags were finally completed. In fact, Tang Ao had already refined no less than 3,000 array flags. The reason why he stopped now was that these 360 array flags were what Tang Ao was most satisfied with. After all, setting up the 7 kills sect protecting array could be considered a one-time thing. In the future, there might be more array Dao geniuses in the 7 kills sect. However, Tang Ao felt that even with his array Dao inheritance, it would be difficult for future disciples to reach the standard of a grade, one immortal array master in the black-yellow continent. Therefore, after Tang Ao set up the 7 kills sect protecting array, it was possible that the 7 kills sect would keep using this array until it lost its effectiveness. With Tang Ao's current array Dao standard, he didn't dare to say how long it would last, but he could ensure that this array could be used normally for 30,000 to 50,000 years. 30 or 50,000 years later, Tang Ao would at least become an expert at the Muddy Heaven realm or even at the Dao master level. At that time, Tang Ao would find some time to return to the 7 kills sect and set up the array formation again. After putting away all the refined array flags, Tang Ao walked out of the sect master's cultivation room. The sect master's main hall of the 7 kills sect was right next to the residences of the inner sect disciples. From this, one could tell that the successive sect masters of the 7 kills sect all valued the disciples of the 7 kills sect very much. The reason why the Grand Hall of the Sect Master was so close to the resting area of the inner sect disciples was so that the Sect Master could protect the future of the 7 kills sect in time, if anything were to happen. When Tang Ao walked out of the Sect Master's hall, the sky hadn't brightened yet, but Tang Ao noticed that some diligent disciples had started to head towards the 7 slaughter sects Dao Development Reserve and other cultivation rooms. Perhaps it was because they'd been stimulated by the Dragon and Phoenix rankings, but all the inner court disciples had become even more diligent. After they saw Tang Ao, all the disciples hurriedly stopped moving and bowed in greeting. Greetings to sect leader Tang Ao. Cultivate properly. Tang Ao nodded lightly in response, and then he continued walking towards the Dao Development Reserve. On the Dao Development Reserve, there were elders passing down their experience in cultivation and answering the questions the numerous disciples encountered in their cultivation. When Tang Ao walked far away from the Dao Development Reserve, he noticed that there were unusually many disciples here today. Practically all the inner court and outer court disciples had arrived here. Chapter 2062. In next to no time, Tang Ao walked over to take a look, and Tang Ao instantly understood what was going on. It turned out that the elder that was teaching today was Kasahara Yuki. In the 7 kills sect all those years ago, Kasahara Yuki and Lakhale were known as the 2 great beauties of the inner court. After so many years, not only did Kasahara Yuki not show the slightest signs of age, she'd become even more enchanting instead. Even though this beautiful elder was slightly cold, there were still many disciples that really liked her. Coupled with the fact that Kasahara Yuki's voice was very pleasant to the ear, many disciples even closed their eyes and were infatuated by her voice. Tang Ao was speechless when he saw this. Tang Ao truly didn't understand if these fellows had come to see the beautiful elder or to cultivate. However, Tang Ao didn't say much. After all, everyone had been young once. They had all been through that age. However, Tang Ao felt that these disciples were truly slightly clumsy. Kasahara Yuki's natural talent in the martial Dao was extremely formidable, and her comprehension ability was extremely high as well. Now that she possessed a cultivation at the peak of the 7th level of the life and death realm, it was truly more than enough to guide these disciples that hadn't cultivated for long. If Tang Ao were them, he would definitely cultivate diligently while looking at the beautiful elder. Senior brother Tang Ao, is something the matter? While Tang Ao was pondering, Kasahara Yuki's voice suddenly sounded out. Kasahara had already noticed Tang Ao when Tang Ao arrived here. However, she didn't know why Tang Ao had come here. It's fine. You can continue. Tang Ao smiled with slight embarrassment, and then he left the grounds as well. He couldn't say that he'd come to see this beautiful junior sister of his like those other disciples. Could he? After leaving the grounds, Tang Ao quickly found Jiang Zhulu in the affairs hall of the sect. Because Tang Ao rarely managed the affairs of the sect, many matters of the sect were placed on Jiang Zhulu's shoulders. Fortunately, Jiang Zhulu had gradually gotten used to it after so many years. Right now, everything in the Seven Kills sect was running smoothly under Jiang Zhulu's arrangements. When Jiang Zhulu saw Tang Ao, he asked suspiciously, "Senior brother Tang Ao is looking for me? How did you know I was looking for you?" Tang Ao asked curiously. This was because Tang Ao was really here to look for Jiang Zhulu. After the Black-Yellow Conference, Tang Ao prepared to go in a closed-door training to reach the astral reaching realm. Once his cultivation base reached the astral reaching realm, Tang Ao would take care of the matters in the Black-Yellow continent before heading to the ice-snow plain. After finding Chu Xiuhan, Tang Ao would probably leave the Black-Yellow continent soon. If Dongxian Yi did not return after Tang Ao left the Black-Yellow continent, then Tang Ao could only leave the Seven Kills sect to Jing Wushang and Jiang Zhulu. Jing Wushang didn't understand Array Dao at all, so he naturally couldn't control the sect protecting Great Array. On the other hand, Jiang Zhulu cultivated Array Dao. Although his attainment in Array Dao was far inferior to Tang Ao's, handing over the sect protecting Great Array to him was clearly very suitable. Senior brother Tang Ao never comes to the affairs hall on ordinary days. Everything is handled by me. Something must have happened for you to suddenly visit today, Jiang Zhulu said with a bitter smile. Previously, when Supreme Elder Fengya and the other elders were around, Jiang Zhulu had never seen any of them so busy. Now that he had become an elder, Jiang Zhulu realized that he, an elder of the Seven Kills sect, was even more tired than the sect leader. Chapter 2063. Senior brother is right. Jiang Zhulu nodded and asked, "What did senior brother come to find me for?" "I want to rearrange the Seven Kills sect protecting Great Array. After that, I'll teach you how to control it." Tang Ao said it casually, but Jiang Zhulu's face was filled with shock. Senior brother Tang Ao, although the Seven Kills sect protecting Great Array is broken, it's still a peak 6th grade spirit array. In the entire Black-Yellow continent, it's probably the most powerful array. Senior brother, do you really want to change the sect protecting Great Array? Jiang Zhulu cultivated Array Dao, so his understanding of spirit arrays was far beyond the other martial artists of the Seven Kills sect. Indeed, this array's grade is too low. This time, I'm going to arrange a 1st grade immortal array. Let's go. Tang Ao didn't seem to notice Jiang Zhulu's shocked expression. After saying that, he led Jiang Zhulu out of the sect. At this moment, Jiang Zhulu's heart was no longer just shocked. He had also seen the array Dao Jade Slip left behind by Tang Ao. Therefore, he knew that there was an immortal array above the spirit array. However, Jiang Zhulu didn't expect Tang Ao's martial Dao cultivation to be so terrifying and domineering. Tang Ao's attainments in the Array Dao were also terrifying. Tang Ao said that he was going to arrange a 1st grade immortal array. Needless to say, the current Tang Ao was already a 1st grade immortal array master. If the sect protecting Great Array was a 1st grade immortal array, then the Seven Kills sect would be safe in the future. A 1st grade immortal array was something that life and death realm martial artists would never be able to break. Right now, the strongest martial artists in the Black-Yellow continent were only life and death realm martial artists. Of course, Jiang Zhulu didn't know that the guest elder Jiang Shou, who came back with Tang Ao, was already at the 2nd level of astral reaching realm. Soon, Jiang Zhulu followed Tang Ao to the outside of the sect. Then, he saw Tang Ao fly up into the sky and form a series of hand seals. After Tang Ao formed these hand seals, the sect protecting great array of the 7 kill sects slowly appeared, following which Tang Ao pointed out with his finger, and a crack instantly appeared on the array. With Tang Ao's current array Dao level, it wouldn't be a problem for him to retrieve the original array. It was just that Tang Ao felt that the original sect was too dilapidated, so Tang Ao directly destroyed it. The moment Tang Ao tore apart the sect protecting formation, countless disciples of the 7 Kills sect looked up in horror. Fortunately, Jiang Zhuliu's voice rang out at this moment. Disciples, don't worry and cultivate now. This is sect head Tang Ao changing our 7 Kills sect protecting array. In the future, the 7 Kills sect protecting grand array will be a first-grade immortal array. Even the strongest sects in the Black-Yellow continent, the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect and the Xiaohou family, don't have such an array. As Jiang Zhuliu's voice fell, many disciples also became excited, especially those disciples who had a better understanding of array Dao. They excitedly introduced the first-grade immortal array to their surrounding companions. Although they didn't have a deep understanding of first-grade immortal arrays, they knew one thing. The 7 Kill sect will be extremely safe in the future. Even if many forces besiege the 7 Kill sect, the 7 Kill sect protecting Grand Array would be unbreakable. Chapter 2064. In the sky above the 7 Kills sect, as Tang Ao's attack landed, the 7 Kills sect's defense array quickly shattered. Tang Ao's powerful spiritual energy instantly enveloped the entire sect. Under the shocked gazes of all the disciples, the array flags of the sect's defense array slowly emerged from various hidden positions. Some of these array flags were already broken, and some only had a corner left. It was said that these array flags were left behind by the founder of the 7 Kills sect. They had witnessed the rise and fall of the 7 Kills sect. But today, they would once again witness the 7 Kills sect's nirvana. With a sweep of spiritual energy, Tang Ao swept all the tattered array flags together. Jiang Zhuliu, who was by the side, kept the array flags. Although these array flags could no longer be used, they still had a special meaning to the 7 Kills sect. Following which, Jiang Zhuliu saw Tang Ao raising his hand and throwing out array flags one after another. These array flags landed in specific locations. After these array flags landed, waves of spiritual energy rippled in all directions like a tide, forming a unique rhythm. Very soon, the 360 array flags in Tang Ao's hand were all set up. Immediately, Tang Ao stood in the void and struck out dozens of seals. Close the formation. Then, Tang Ao shouted and clasped his hands together. Suddenly, the entire 7 Kills sect's mountain gate trembled. Under such tremors, all the disciples naturally raised their heads to look at the sky. Subsequently, everyone saw a barrier shrouding the sect and disappearing in a flash. Subsequently, a layer of lightning net appeared above the entire sect. Finally, when the sect's tremors stopped, all the disciples were shocked to find that the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to be attracted by something and surged towards the 7 Kills sect continuously. It's a spirit-gathering array. A disciple who cultivated an array techniques immediately exclaimed. But after shouting, everyone was shocked to find that the spirit-gathering array above the sect was gathering spiritual energy for the entire sect. Feeling the spiritual energy in the surrounding space getting denser, all the disciples were overjoyed. There were many places with dense heaven and earth spiritual energy in the Black-Yellow continent. However, there weren't many places with such dense heaven and earth spiritual energy. After setting up the entire array, Tang Ao handed an array flag to Jiang Zhuliu. Since this array formation was personally set up by Tang Ao could control it without the array flag. However, Jiang Zhuliu couldn't. If the array flag was not handed to Jiang Zhuliu, the sect guarding array formation wouldn't be activated after Tang Ao left. While the disciples were still discussing how powerful the Seven Kills sect guarding formation was, Tang Ao, Jing Wushang, and Taizheng left the Seven Kills sect on the flying spirit boat, heading to the Xiantian city in the center of the Black-Yellow continent. Xiantian city was an open city that did not belong to any sect or force in the Black-Yellow continent. Moreover, there was no one managing Xiantian city. However, there was an established rule in the Black-Yellow continent that internal strife was not allowed in Xiantian city. This was because the Black Heaven City was the place where the top forces of the Black-Yellow continent discussed important matters. It could also be considered as the symbol of the Black-Yellow continent. Chapter 2065. Jing Wushang was surrounded by Taizheng and the others. They were all asking Jing Wushang questions about cultivation and combat techniques. Tang Ao didn't dare say anything else, but he knew that they had asked the right person to ask Jing Wushang about combat techniques. Ever since Jing Wushang started cultivating, he'd spent a long period of time in battle. Aside from Tang Ao, he was the one with the most combat experience in the entire Seven Kills sect. More importantly, Jing Wushang's cultivation methods, martial techniques, life spirit, and secret arts had all been learned in the Seven Kills sect. Therefore, compared to Tang Ao, Jing Wushang's cultivation methods and martial techniques were more similar to Taizheng's and the others. Although many of the combat techniques Jing Wushang had imparted to them could be said to be usable, the Blood Demon Patriarch's cultivation methods and martial techniques were more similar to those of Taizheng and the others. Perhaps because they sensed the Blood Demon Patriarch's tyrannical aura along the way. No demonic beasts were foolish enough to attack the airship. Tang Ao didn't deliberately speed up, either. He just let the airship fly towards Xiantian City. Xiantian City was usually very lively, but with the start of the Xiantian meeting, it wasn't just Xiantian City that was bustling with activity. Even its surroundings had become extraordinarily lively. Although Xiantian City wasn't under the jurisdiction of any power, the shops and restaurants in the city had long been under their control. However, these powers only managed matters in their own territories. They wouldn't interfere with anything else in Xiantian City. The Xiantian Plaza in the center of Xiantian City was definitely the largest plaza in the entire Xiantian continent. The Seven Kills sect's Dao Development Plaza was large enough, but the Xiantian Plaza in Xiantian City was 10 times the size of the Seven Kills sect's Dao Development Plaza. At this moment, the various powers on the plaza were rushing over in all directions. The first to arrive was naturally the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, which was closest to the plaza. Moreover, the cultivator from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect wasn't some insignificant elder. The one who'd come was the sect master, Yin Fengxing. After Yin Fengxing took his seat, the primordial Xiahou family's flying spirit boat appeared in the air above the profound Heaven Plaza. Yin Fengxing saw that the Xiahou family's patriarch, Xiahou Jie, had come this time. After Yin Fengxing and Xiahou Jie arrived, the Ouyang families in Murong realm's flying spirit boats appeared above the Xiantian Plaza. This time, Murong Ji, the master of the Murong family, came to the Murong world. However, compared to before, Murong Ji's spiritual power was much stronger. If one looked carefully, it would not be hard to find that Murong Ji had already reached astral reaching realm level 1. Ouyang clan head, you're finally willing to come out this time. Murong Ji said coldly when he saw Ouyang Changhe of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. In the previous 2 battles against the Seven Kills sect, this Ouyang Changhe had always used closed-door cultivation as an excuse to evade. The cultivators that the Ouyang clan sent were only some insignificant elders. This made Murong Ji very unhappy. Haha, Brother Murong, there is no need to provoke me. If I could come, even if Brother Murong didn't say it, I would still come. Ouyang Changhe did not mind Murong Ji's mockery at all. The Xiao clan and the Lei clan have also arrived. Just as Murong Ji was about to ridicule Ouyang Changhe suddenly spoke. Murong Ji raised his head and saw the Xiao clan and the Lei clan's flying spirit boats. After the Xiao clan and the Lei clan's flying spirit boats, there was also the heaven-transforming Dragon Pavilion's flying spirit boat. Obviously, these three forces had come together. Chapter 2066. Moreover, Lei Guchu wasn't the only one who had appeared. The Dragon Transformation Pavilion had only sent one person this time. However, everyone was inwardly shocked when they saw this person. This was because this person was the Dragon Transformation Pavilion's Supreme Elder, Inglongzi. Inglongzi was the same as Lei Guchu, a martial artist of the same generation as Fengya. As these experts showed up one after another, the atmosphere of the scene became tense. The Black-Yellow Conference was held once every 100 years. Although the sect masters and family heads of various factions had appeared in the previous Black-Yellow Conference, they had never appeared in person like this. Many people had already keenly sensed that a storm was about to come. That's the Long Song Sword sect, the Green Lotus Valley, and the desolate ancient Luo family. At this moment, 3 huge flying spirit boats flew over. The atmosphere became even more tense when they saw the people on the 3 flying spirit boats. Even some martial artists who were prepared to watch the show tactfully retreated. That was because the Longsong Sword sect had sent their previous sect master, Li Tianwen. In terms of seniority, Li Tianwen was 1 generation older than the 2 old men, Lei Gu and Chu. Moreover, Li Tianwen hadn't appeared in the Black-Yellow continent for thousands of years. He was also a martial artist that everyone thought had fallen. After Li Tianwen and the others took their seats, the other sects also arrived. However, everyone discovered that even after all the sects had arrived, the 7 Kills sect still hadn't appeared. According to Tang Ao's original plan, the 7 Kills sect should have arrived at the mysterious Heaven Plaza long ago. However, what Tang Ao hadn't expected was that on the way to the mysterious Heaven City, Tang Ao and Jing Wushang coincidentally sensed an opportunity to break through. Although the Black-Yellow Conference was more important, since they sensed an opportunity to break through, they naturally had a breakthrough before leaving. In a valley, Jing Wushang slowly stood up. After cultivating for so many years, Jing Wushang had finally broken through to the 8th stage of the life and death realm. If Lin Yuan Shui hadn't broken through yet, Jing Wushang would have been the strongest person in the 7 Kills sect apart from Tang Ao. I didn't expect there to be such a coincidence. Now that we've been delayed on the road, I'm afraid the Black-Yellow convention is about to begin, Tang Ao smiled bitterly. Breaking through is something that could not be predicted. He had been stuck at the 8th layer of life and death realm for a long time and only needed an opportunity to break through to the 9th layer. On the way to mysterious Heaven City, Tang Ao suddenly sensed something and successfully broke through to the 9th layer of life and death realm. As for Jing Wushang, he sensed the laws and Dao accumulations around Tang Ao and took advantage of Tang Ao's breakthrough. After packing up, Tang Ao did not continue his leisurely stroll towards profound Heaven City. Instead, he increased the speed of the flying spirit boat to the maximum. What's up with the 7 Kills sect? Don't tell me he doesn't dare to come? After all the factions had arrived, except for the 7 Kills sect, the surrounding cultivators who came to watch the profound yellow meeting spoke up. That's really hard to say. The 7 Kills sect was attacked twice by the 7 major factions, and they suffered heavy casualties on both occasions. This time, they are far away from a sect. Without the protection array, it's possible that the 7 Kills sect won't dare to come. What you're saying is wrong. The first time the 7 major factions attacked the 7 Kills sect, the 7 great elders of the 7 Kills sect died in battle, and Grand Elder Feng Yu was severely injured. However, the Desolate Era's Thunder Clan, Shao Clan, and Dragon Transformation Pavilion sect masters were all killed by Fengya in the 7 Kills sect. As for the second time the 7 major factions attacked the 7 Kills sect, the 7 Kills sect lost Elder Shao Linmu, and the 7 major factions lost 8 or 9 life and death realm martial artists. In the end, when the Green Lotus Valley's martial artists arrived, the 7 major factions were scared away. Chapter 2067. When Tang Ao arrived at the profound Heaven Plaza, he heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the Black-Yellow Convention had yet to officially begin. Although the Seven Kills sect had enmity with the 7 major factions, the Black-Yellow Convention was not just a matter between the Seven Kills sect and the 7 major factions. It was a grand event for all the martial artists in the Black-Yellow continent. After arriving at the profound Heaven Plaza, Tang Ao landed with everyone and put away the flying spirit boat. But soon, Tang Ao's expression turned cold. As one of the 8 major sects in the Black-Yellow continent, the Seven Kills sect had a special seat. But now, the seat of the Seven Kills sect had been occupied by another sect. When Tang Ao and the others arrived, not only did the other party not give way, but they even looked at the Seven Kills sect with ridicule in their eyes. Before Tang Ao could get angry, a middle-aged martial artist landed in front of Tang Ao and the others. Because he did it on purpose, the tremendous force of his fall caused cracks to appear on the ground. Jing Wushang was enraged when he saw this scene. Jing Wushang knew this middle-aged man. He was the sect master of the Wu Kuei sect. The Wu Kuei sect was only a second-rate sect, but this Wu Kuei dared to show off in front of the Seven Kills sect. The Seven Kills sect sure has a lot of face to make so many sects in the Black-Yellow continent wait here for so long. Tang Ao, shouldn't you give us a reasonable explanation? As Wu Kuei spoke, his 8th level life and death realm spiritual power was revealed. After sensing Wu Kuei's 8th level life and death realm spiritual power fluctuations, many people's expressions changed. This was because it was rumored that the sect master of the Seven Kills sect, Tang Ao, was also at the 8th level life and death realm. Wu Kuei's provocation of Tang Ao was most likely because he wanted the Wu Kuei sect to replace the Seven Kills sect among the 8 major sections. It's not easy to cultivate to the 8th level life and death realm. But what everyone didn't expect was that in the face of Wu Kuei's provocation, Tang Ao only said one sentence in a very calm manner. Before Wu Kuei could react, Tang Ao raised his hand, and a desolate green sword chi swept towards Wu Kuei. When he saw Tang Ao's casual sword strike, Wu Kuei didn't take it seriously at all, and he immediately intended to attack Tang Ao. However, Wu Kuei was shocked to discover that he couldn't move at all under Tang Ao's sword. Tang Ao's powerful aura was like an invisible hand that pressed him to the ground. At this moment, Wu Kuei wanted to beg for mercy, but he couldn't even utter a single word. At this moment, Wu Kuei also understood what Tang Ao meant. Cultivating to the 8th level of the life and death realm was truly not easy. As a cloud of blood mist exploded, Wu Kuei, who had just provoked Tang Ao, was smashed into pieces by Tang Ao's green lotus sword chi. A gentle breeze blew past, and the blood mist dissipated. This former life and death realm 8th level warrior didn't even have the chance to reincarnate. After Tang Ao killed Wu Kuei, Morongji smashed the stone table in front of him into pieces. Sect leader Tang Ao, are you here to show off your power today? Could it be that you don't care about all the powerful warriors in the Black-Yellow continent? Morongji was very depressed at this moment. This Wu Kuei sect was actually a sect that the Murong family was secretly supporting. Originally, Morongji wanted to let Wu Kuei anger Tang Ao so that he and the others could attack together and kill the people from the Seven Kills sect first. However, how could Morongji expect that in less than half a year, Tang Ao had become so powerful? Wu Kuei, who was at the 8th level of the life and death realm, couldn't even beg for mercy in front of Tang Ao before he was killed by Tang Ao with one sword strike. Chapter 2068. Leader Tang Ao, since your 7 Kill sect has so few people, and this place is so big, why don't our Yellow Cloud Valley sit here with your 7 Kill sect? What do you think? At this moment, the leader of the Yellow Cloud Valley, Hu Huanyun, was also feeling nervous. Although his cultivation was a bit higher than Wu Kuei's, there was still a limit. Therefore, without even thinking, Hu Huanyun knew that he was definitely not Tang Ao's opponent. However, occupying the 7-kill sect spot was the will of the Thunder family behind Hu Huanyan. Just now, he had received a message from the great elder of the Lei family, telling him not to move out of the way. At the critical moment, Lei Guchu would make a move himself. Thinking that Lei Guchu would make a move himself, Hu Huanyan's heart slowly calmed down. Others might not know how powerful Lei Guchu was, but Hu Huanyan did. Why didn't Lei Guchu show up the last 2 times when the 7 forces attacked the 7-kill sect? It was because Lei Guchu was in closed-door training to reach the astral reaching realm. Right now, he had already reached the first level of the astral reaching realm. As long as Lei Guchu had the right reason, he would be able to take down this Tang Ao in an instant. Thinking of this, Hu Huanyan was even more confident. However, right at this moment, Hu Huanyan saw Tang Ao raise his arm. Hu Huanyan was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He hurriedly said, "Leader Tang Ao, don't do it. Let's talk this out. Let's talk this out." However, what Hu Huanyan didn't expect was that Tang Ao only raised his hand and patted on Hu Huanyan's shoulder, then said casually, "Leader Hu, don't worry. I won't kill you. Moreover, I think what you said makes sense." Hearing that Tang Ao didn't plan to kill him, Hu Huanyan let out a sigh of relief. The moment he raised his hand, Hu Huanyan felt as if he had just walked through the gates of hell. Seeing Hu Huanyan's cowardly look, the surrounding people also shook their heads inwardly. This Hu Huanyan was a leader of a sect after all, yet he was so afraid of death. "Leader Hu, do you see where the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect is?" Before Hu Huanyan could understand the meaning of Tang Ao's words, Tang Ao opened his mouth again. Yes, yes. Hu Huanyan wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and nodded like a chick pecking rice. "Look, this time around, our 7-kill sect has sent 8 people, but the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect has only sent 4. Wouldn't the seats be more spacious?" After saying this, Tang Ao patted Hu Huanyan's face and said, "All right, Sect Master Hu Huanyan, bring your Yellow Cloud Valley's people to squeeze with the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect's people. There aren't many people from your Yellow Cloud Valley. Let's go." Sect Master Tang Ao, this won't do. Hu Huanyan had not expected Tang Ao to be so difficult to deal with. At the same time, Hu Huanyan felt incomparably vexed. Lei Guchu still had no intention of making a move. If this went on, Hu Huanyan would lose face, but Hu Huanyan was worried that he would lose his life here. "Sect Leader Hu Huanyan, why do you sound like you're farting? Wherever is spacious, of course you have to sit. Let me send you on your way." As Tang Ao spoke, he used his spiritual power and threw Hu Huanyan in the direction of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. Chapter 2069. This Tang is merely stating the facts. How is this a demonstration? Sect leader Hu Huanyan saw that there were only 8 people from my 7-kill sect and felt that the 7-kill sect seats were more spacious. This Tang feels that it makes sense. After seeing that there were only 4 people from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, this Tang naturally invited sect leader Hu Huanyan over. It's just a pity that sect leader Hu Huanyan died an innocent death. Pitiful, pitiful, truly pitiful. Upon hearing Tang Ao's words, the surrounding crowd was immediately speechless. Who was the cause of Hu Huanyan's tragic death? Wasn't it because Tang Ao had thrown Hu Huanyan over so that Yin Fengxing could kill him? In the end, Tang Ao was saying that Hu Huanyan was pitiful instead. Sect leader Tang Ao. The 7-kill sect is indeed full of geniuses. After Fengya and Luo Guxiao, there's a genius sect leader like you. However, does sect leader Tang Ao think that he's invincible in the Black-Yellow continent? How dare he commit murder at the Black-Yellow meeting? This time, it was Lei Guchu, the supreme elder of the primordial Thunder family, who spoke. Lei Guchu had brought Hu Huanyan and the Yellow Cloud Valley here to hand them over to Tang Ao. As long as Tang Ao killed them, he would naturally have an excuse to deal with the 7-kill sect. Now that the few old fellows had come out of seclusion, there was naturally no need for the 7-kill sect to exist anymore. Originally, They didn't have such deep enmity with the Seven Kills sect. However, now that the seven major forces had besieged the Seven Kills sect twice, the enmity between both parties was already irreconcilable. Once the Seven Kills sect caught their breath, they would be the unlucky ones. Elder Lei is right. This Tang has only cultivated for slightly more than 100 years. How can I dare to say that I'm invincible? I also deeply sympathize with sect leader Hu Huanyuan's misfortune. How about this? My Seven Kills sect is also recruiting disciples now. The few of you can join my Seven Kills sect from now on. Tang Ao said to the few youths sitting on the seats of the Seven Kills sect. These youths were obviously the genius disciples of the Yellow Cloud Valley. Although they couldn't compare to Tai Zheng and the rest, they were still not bad. After saying that, Tang Ao said to a middle-aged man in front of the Yellow Cloud Valley disciples, "You are an elder of Yellow Cloud Valley, right?" When this middle-aged man heard that Tang Ao was talking to him, he hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Sect head Tang Ao, I am Yellow Cloud Valley's deputy sect head, Zheng Han. Please assign me to sect head Tang Ao." Compared to Hu Huanyuan, Zheng Han was much more knowledgeable. From the moment they left Yellow Cloud Valley, Zheng Han knew that Lei Guchu, that old fellow, did not have any good intentions. Now, Zheng Han could see that Lei Guchu had brought them here to be killed by Tang Ao. If he still didn't recognize the situation at this time, Zheng Han, would inevitably follow in Hu Huanyuan's footsteps. Yes, very good. Sect leader Zheng Han, I could deeply sympathize with sect leader Hu Huanyuan. From today onwards, your Yellow Cloud Valley is a subsidiary sect of my Seven Kills sect. If anyone dares to touch your Yellow Cloud Valley, this seat will not let them off lightly. Now, go back and tidy up Yellow Cloud Valley. Pick out some of the disciples who are rather talented in the martial way. After some time, I will send someone to fetch them. When Zheng Han heard Tang Ao's words, it was as if he had been granted amnesty. He immediately nodded his head in acknowledgement and quickly gathered the group of Yellow Cloud Valley disciples to leave this place. As for whether to let Yellow Cloud Valley become a subsidiary sect of the Seven Kills sect, Zheng Han still did not want to consider this now. Zheng Han only knew that the most important thing now was to leave this troublesome place as soon as possible. The black-yellow meeting this time would definitely not be simple. After this black-yellow meeting ended, Zheng Han would once again assess the situation and decide where to go. Under Zheng Han's lead, the Yellow Cloud Valley's martial artists quickly left the Black Heaven City's plaza. And after Wu Kuei and Hu Huanyuan died, tragically for provoking the Seven Kills sect, no one else dared to step forward to provoke the Seven Kills sect. At the same time, the atmosphere at the scene became increasingly tense. Chapter 2070. Who is this person? Tang Ao had left the black-yellow continent for too long, so he didn't recognize the old man on the stage at all. However, Tang Ao knew that this old man in coarse clothes was the strongest person here apart from the blood demon ancestor. After arriving here, Tang Ao had discovered that these old fellows were basically all astral-reaching existences. However, some of them had broken through not too long ago, while others had stopped for a period of time. However, none of them had surpassed the first level of the astral-reaching realm. At this moment, Li Tianwen was the strongest person on the stage. The spirit power within his body was vigorous and surging, reaching the peak of the first level of the astral-reaching realm. Among the people present, Li Tianwen was one of the few experts who didn't have any enmity towards the Seven Kills sect. However, Tang Ao knew that this was only temporary. The Seven Kills sect didn't have much interaction with them in the first place. Once a conflict of interest arose, it would be unavoidable. The existence of the Black-Yellow Conference was to distribute the cultivation resources of the Black-Yellow continent. In this way, it would be hard for the Seven Kills sect to not have a conflict of interest with them. Sect leader. This person is the supreme elder of the Longsong Sword sect, Li Tianwen. It's said that his seniority is even higher than our supreme elder Fengya. Moreover, the previous Black-Yellow Conference was also presided over by the Longsong Sword sect. I didn't expect that the person from the Long Song Sword sect would be him this time. Compared to Tang Ao, Jing Wushang knew a bit more about the experts of the Black-Yellow Continent. After Li Tianwen got on the stage, he scanned the crowd and said, "For a long time, the 8 great sects and 6 great families have controlled more than 90% of the cultivation resources of the Black-Yellow Continent. Moreover, they have maintained a relatively stable state. 10 years ago, the 7 great forces besieged the 7 Kills sect, and half a year ago, the 7 great forces besieged the 7 Kills sect, but this balance has not been broken." Li Tianwen didn't hold back in his words, as if he wasn't afraid of offending the 7 Kills sect or the 7 great forces. When Li Tianwen finished speaking, many people in the direction of the 7 major forces had ugly expressions on their faces. The 7 Kills sect was merely a sect of the same level as them. However, the 7 of them had joined forces and besieged the 7 Kills sect twice. Yet, they still could not take down the 7 Kills sect. Didn't that mean that they were trash? It wasn't just the 7 major factions. The 7 Kills sect didn't feel good either when Li Tianwen said that. It could be said to be a very humiliating thing for a sect to be attacked twice. However, Tang Ao did not think much of it. After all, with the 7 Kills sect strength back then, it would already be a victory for them if they could survive the combined attacks of the 7 great powers. In other words, if Tang Ao had his current level of cultivation back then, none of the people who had attacked the 7 Kills sect back then would have been able to escape. Although many top-notch experts from various forces had come here today, Tang Ao wasn't afraid at all. Not to mention that Tang Ao was already at the 9th level of life and death realm. There was also the 2nd level astral reaching realm blood demon ancestor on Tang Ao's side. As for Jing Wushang, Tang Ao could only smile bitterly. Although Jing Wushang's cultivation base wasn't weak, facing these old monsters participating in the Black-Yellow Convention today, his cultivation base was truly not enough. Tang Ao looked around. These top powers and clans of the Clan of the Ancients were basically all great elders or sect masters of their respective powers. Chapter 2071. All right, let's cut to the chase. Let's talk about the resources that will be distributed this time. The best resources in the Xianhuang continent are gathered in the Xianhuang mountain range. According to the agreement made by our ancestors, the resources in the Xianhuang mountain range will be distributed once every 100 years. There are 21 supreme-grade spiritual mines in the Xianhuang mountain range. The production of spiritual stones has been stable for the past 100 years. 94 superior-grade spiritual mines. Then, Tang Ao heard Li Tianwen listing out a bunch of cultivation resources on the high platform, as well as the current ownership of these cultivation resources. Although Tang Ao didn't care about the superior-grade spiritual stones or supreme-grade spiritual stones, he was still slightly surprised when he heard about the rich cultivation resources in the Xianhuang mountain range. After Li Tianwen finished, Tang Ao could tell that the 7 Kills sect from 100 years ago was the strongest among the many sections. Of the 21 supreme-grade spiritual mines, the 7 Kills sect had 3. Only the Xiahou family had reached the same level as the 7 Kills sect. As for the superior-grade spiritual mines, there were as many as 17. In addition, there were all kinds of herb mountains and spiritual fields. It was obvious that the 7 Kills sect from 100 years ago was much stronger than it was now. However, the 7 Kills sect wasn't weak either. It still existed after being besieged twice by the 7 great factions. Now that the 7 Kills sect had recovered, it would only be a matter of time before it became the #1 sect in the Xianhuang continent. The same rules apply. All the sects in the Xianhuang continent that want to participate in the Xianhuang mountain range's resource distribution can send their disciples to the arena. The ranking battle will begin when there are only 100 people left. Li Tianwen took a step forward and landed on his seat. At the same time that Li Tianwen returned, the 3 disciples of the Long Song Sword sect also made their moves and stepped onto the arena. After the 3 disciples from the Long Song Sword sect entered the arena, the other sects and factions also sent their disciples to the arena. Tang Ao noticed that there were as few as one disciple among them, and as many as 3. In addition to the disciples of the 8 great sects and the 6 great clans of the primordial era, there were also many small forces that sent their elite disciples to compete for the cultivation resources in the Xianhuang mountain range. One had to know that if it was anywhere else, even if it was just a low-grade spiritual or vein, a few small sects would probably fight for it till their heads bled. However, in this time's black-yellow meeting, as long as one sect's disciples could enter the top 100, not to mention a low-grade spirit or vein, they could even obtain a middle-grade or even high-grade spirit or vein. In the cultivation of martial arts, apart from one's own efforts and martial arts talent, the most important thing was cultivation resources. The Xianhuang mountain range was the place with the most concentrated resources in the entire Xianhuang continent. If a small sect could obtain a high-grade spiritual or vein, or even a medium-grade spiritual or vein in the black-yellow convention, then the sect would definitely be able to develop rapidly in the next 100 years. Furthermore, a sect could only send a maximum of 3 disciples to participate in the black-yellow convention. Therefore, the total number of disciples from the 8 major sects and the 6 major clans of the ancients only amounted to 42 people. Apart from these 42 people, the difference between the disciples of the other sects wasn't that great. Chapter 2072. After a while, there were over 1,000 young men and women on the stage at the center of the plaza. It wasn't hard to see how much the various powers in the Xianhuang continent were passionate about the Xianhuang conference. You guys go up too. If anyone challenges the 7 kills sect's dignity, don't hold back, Tang Ao said to Xian and the other 2 after seeing that most of the sect disciples had gone up. It was actually very unfair for the Xianhuang conference to adopt such a chaotic battle format. Because in the arena, if a sect's disciple was targeted, it would be very easy for him to be swept out. Tang Ao didn't even need to think to know that if Xian and the other 2 went up, the disciples of the 7 great powers wouldn't be able to sit still. Because of that, Tang Ao told Xian and the other 2 not to hold back. However, Tang Ao also discovered that the 7 great powers weren't completely united. Otherwise, the incident between the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect and the Desolate Ancient Clan wouldn't have happened. Thinking of that, Tang Ao also watched the battle that was about to begin on the stage with interest. At that moment, the number of cultivators on the stage finally stabilized. Gradually, there were no more cultivators going up. Which sect disciple still wants to participate? Hurry up and go up. Li Tianwen's voice didn't waste any time and spread throughout the plaza. However, there was still no one who went up. Seeing this, Li Tianwen nodded and said, "Let's begin." The instant Li Tianwen's voice landed, a terrifying spiritual power surged out of the entire stage. All sorts of colorful fate spirits kept on blossoming on the stage. In just an instant, a cultivator died on the stage. The Xianhuang Conference was a grand event for all the sects in the Xianhuang continent. At the same time, it was an opportunity for many sections. However, this opportunity wasn't easy to grasp. The reason why the top-notch sects were getting stronger and stronger was because they had a large amount of cultivation resources in their hands. With these cultivation resources, the top-notch sects would be able to continuously nurture experts. Currently, within the 1,600 people on the stage, the strongest cultivator was already at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Martial Realm. The weakest had only just entered the Origin Martial Realm. The martial artists who just entered the Origin Realm brought the hopes of their respective schools and stepped onto the stage with hopes of luck. But after going up, other than a small portion of people, most of them did not have the chance to come down. To Tang Ao's surprise, Tang Ao did not see the disciples of the 7 major forces besieging the disciples of the 7 kills sect. This made Tang Ao a little puzzled, but after a moment, Tang Ao understood the reason. Although the disciples of these small sects were generally weak, there were still geniuses among them. If they were to fight the 7 kill sect now, they would have to pay a price even if they could eliminate Xian and the other 2. This was only the first chaotic battle of the black-yellow meeting, and there was utterly no need for both sides to be heavily injured with the Seven Kills sect. Moreover, the seven great factions weren't united. Everyone wanted to get a piece of the mysterious Yellow Mountain Range's resources. Therefore, none of the martial artists from the seven great factions chose to take the initiative to attack the Seven Kills sect. Chapter 2073. Although these small sects don't have as many resources as the 8 great sects and the 6 great families, they still nurture quite a few decent disciples. Jing Wushang, who was next to Tang Ao, sighed emotionally as he looked at the remaining 600 people on the stage. Correct. Also, because these small sects don't have abundant cultivation resources, their disciples have to think of ways to obtain cultivation resources themselves. So, their battle experience is also very terrifying. Tang Ao had been watching the battles on the stage. So, Tang Ao discovered that although some of the cultivators didn't have high cultivation, their battle experience and battle awareness were stronger than Xian's group of 3. Another hour later, there were only about 200 people left on the dueling platform. At this time, the battles on the stage became more and more intense. At the start, the cultivators on the stage would do their best to avoid contact with the cultivators from the 8 great sects and 6 great families. But now, no one on the stage could stay out of it. Even the disciples of the 8 major sects and 6 major clans were fighting with each other at this moment. At that time, the cultivators from the 7 great powers immediately surrounded Xian's group of 3 from the 7 Kills sect. Their goal was very clear. They wanted to eliminate Xian's group of 3. But at this time, the remaining cultivators on the stage were all extremely strong. So, it wasn't that easy for them to get close to Xian's group of 3. They didn't even take a few steps before they were stopped by their own opponents. Jiang Baiha of the White Crane sect seeks guidance from Senior from the 7 Kills sect. Just at that time, a young man wearing fluttering white clothes appeared in front of Xian. He was also the strongest opponent Xian had faced so far. His cultivation was the same as Xian's at the 8th level of the Origin Martial Realm. Xian didn't understand. There were clearly so many people at the 6th and 7th level of the Origin Martial Realm on the stage. Why would the young man find him? But Xian wasn't afraid in the slightest. After clasping his hands together and returning the greeting, he calmly said, "Please enlighten me." The battles on the stage continued like wildfire. There were cultivators constantly being swept off the stage, and there were also cultivators constantly being killed on the stage. But the cultivators on the stage still had resolute gazes as they fought. They had endured too much in this battle. The black-yellow meeting that was held once in 100 years would decide whether a sect that devoted all of its resources to nurture itself could win a place in the black-yellow continent in the next 100 years. With a blood-curdling scream, a martial artist from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect was cut in half at the waist by a white-robed youth from the Long Song Sword Sect. This was also the first time a martial artist from the 8 great sects and 6 great clans had fallen. Following the fall of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect's cultivator, the battle on the dueling platform became even more intense. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the battle on the duel arena gradually came to a stop. The battle this time around could be said to be extremely intense. At this moment, there was already a layer of blood on the dueling platform. Many of the people on the dueling platform were blasted off the platform, but there were even more warriors who were directly killed on this bloody dueling platform. Chapter 2074. Brother Chu, you and I didn't use our full strength in the battle just now. If we meet again in the ranking battle, please give it your all. Of course. Xian retracted the 6 golden flames that floated around him after saying that. On the other side, the 2 who were still fighting were at the 7th level of the Origin Martial Realm. One of them was a disciple of the Celestial Star Sacred Sect, while the other was from an unknown small sect. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the small sect's disciple took a step forward and the ground trembled. Then, the small sect's disciple suddenly exploded. He held a broad axe with both hands and chopped towards the Celestial Star Sacred Sect's disciple. Ding! The celestial star sacred sect's disciple's long saber was knocked away by the huge axe. Then, without waiting for the celestial star sacred sect's disciple to make any move, the broad axe chopped the celestial star sacred sect's disciple in half like a watermelon. At this point, the top 100 of the Xianhuang conference had appeared. Yin Fengxing was furious that 2 of the celestial star sacred sect's disciples had died while advancing to the top 100. He raised his hand and grabbed towards the young man who killed the celestial star sacred sect's disciple. Facing Yin Fengxing's attack, the young man's eyes were filled with despair. Fortunately, Li Tianwen waved his hand and dissolved Yin Fengxing's attack. After that, Li Tianwen said expressionlessly, "The top 100 have been decided. After resting for 2 hours, everyone will proceed to the ranking battle." Although Li Tianwen hadn't shown his face in the Xianhuang continent for 1,000 years, the Xianhuang conference 1,000 years ago was basically hosted by Li Tianwen. Therefore, Li Tianwen was very familiar with hosting the Xianhuang conference again. Xian and the other 2 returned behind Tang Ao. Xian and Wei Pohu had expended a lot of energy. Tai Zheng was a bit luckier as he hadn't encountered any powerful figures in the arena. Tang Ao took out medicinal pills from his storage ring and fed them to the 3 before saying, "There are many strong opponents this time. You 3 shouldn't be careless." Tang Ao was very confident in Xian and the other 2's strength. However, the other forces' disciples were also strong. Some of the smaller sects also had monstrous geniuses. Therefore, Tang Ao had to remind Xian and the others to be careful. Even so, from Tang Ao's point of view, Xian and the other 2 had a chance of entering the top 10. Whether they could enter the top 10 depended on luck. This was because in the following battles, if he was unlucky and encountered a cultivator with average strength but could restrain him, it was not impossible for him to be defeated. Moreover, Tang Ao had already seen that Jiang Baihe, who had just exchanged blows with Xian, cultivated ice spiritual power, which was mutually restrained by Xian. There was also a martial artist from a small sect with peerless agility. If Wei Pohu were to face off against such a martial artist, he might not even be able to touch his clothes. But at the same time, although this martial artist's movement technique was ingenious, his attack power was obviously lacking. With Wei Pohu's powerful physical body, as long as his vitals weren't hit, he wouldn't be able to break through Wei Pohu's defenses. Chapter 2075. However, many understood that the situation was only temporary. Now that the Yellow Mountain Range's resources were being distributed, the 7 factions were fighting their own battles. Once the Yellow Mountain Range's resources were distributed, however, it would be time for the 7 factions to attack the 7 Kills sect. The 7 factions had joined forces to attack the 7 Kills sect twice, and the grudge between them had long been irreconcilable. Many of the venerated elders of the 7 factions had come, obviously prepared to kill the sect leader, Tang Ao, before swallowing the sect in one fell swoop. Time's up. The rules for this ranking tournament remain the same. Opponents will be randomly assigned. The winner will advance to the winner's bracket and fight the opponent in the winner's bracket, while the loser will fight the opponent in the loser's bracket. 1 point for every win, 2 points deducted for every loss. 5 consecutive losses will fix your ranking, and you will not be allowed to fight again. 10 consecutive wins will qualify, and there's no need to fight anymore. Let's begin. Li Tianwen waved his hand when he was done, and a giant formation screen appeared before the crowd. On this huge array formation screen were the names of each martial artist, as well as their respective opponents. Tang Ao saw that Xian's opponent was, unfortunately, the young man named Jiang Baihe. Tai Zheng's opponent was rather interesting as well, one of the 2 great geniuses of the 7 Kills sect's intersect, Yi Guhong. However, Yi Guhong was now a disciple of House Xiahou of the Primordial Era, and the only disciple the house had brought with them that didn't share the same surname. In fact, While Yi Guhong's cultivation base wasn't bad in House Xiahou, he was still a notch below the pinnacle of the house's combat power. House Xiahou hadn't brought Yi Guhong here because they didn't expect him to perform amazingly. They only wanted to discuss the 7 kills sect a little. Tang Ao had to admit that House Xiao's plan had succeeded because Tang Ao was truly disgusted by Yi Guhong. Not only was Yi Guhong not embarrassed when he saw that his opponent was Tai Zheng, he even looked delighted. In Yi Guhong's mind, he couldn't lose even if he wanted to if Tai Zheng was his opponent. However, Tang Ao also wanted to tell Yi Guhong that Tai Zheng was no longer who he used to be. It was undoubtedly a fool's dream for him to win this battle. Very quickly, the originally intact dueling platform began to tremble, following which the spectators watched as the previously intact dueling platform split into 36 individual dueling platforms. This time, without Li Tianwen's words, the warriors stepped onto the arena and began the battle. Wei Pohu's opponent was the last disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. This time, the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect had sent a total of 3 people, and now only this last disciple was left. This was something that no one had expected. If the last disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect was also defeated, then the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect will become a laughing stock in this session of the profound Yellow Convention. As the overlord of the previous Black-Yellow Convention, he had almost been eliminated this time. At this moment, Heavenly Star Sacred Sect's Supreme Elder, Yan Fengxing's face was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. Yan Fengxing couldn't imagine that while he was in seclusion trying to break through to the astral reaching realm, Heavenly Star Sacred Sect's disciples were actually this weak. Even a martial artist from a small sect could kill an inner sect disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect with a swing of his axe. Chapter 2076. Wei Pohu's strength lay in his strong defense and overbearing attack power. What he lacked was dexterity. The martialist from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect did not take the dexterity route either. He focused entirely on attacking without paying attention to defense. Tang Ao had seen his battle just now. The reason he could fight 3 martialists of the same realm without losing was because his attack power was too fierce. The other 3 didn't even have a chance to attack him. However, this was not the case now that he was facing Wei Pohu. I admit defeat. A martialist from a small sect suddenly shouted in less than 10 breaths of time after the ranking battle began. However, as soon as he finished shouting, his opponent's attack instantly landed on him. Terrifying thunderbolts bloomed in the hands of the martialist from the Thunder Clan. The martialist from a small sect was killed on the spot. Since you admitted defeat, why did you hurt him? Li Tianwen's face turned ugly. Not to mention this group of people, even during the Black-Yellow Convention 1,000 years ago, such a thing wouldn't happen after admitting defeat. Junior already gave him the chance to admit defeat, but he insisted on fighting Junior. I couldn't hold back just now, so I accidentally killed him. Facing Li Tianwen's accusation, the martialist from the Thunder Clan showed no signs of repentance. It was as if killing the other party after admitting defeat was a very ordinary and trivial matter. Very good. Li Tianwen only said 2 words in response to the martialist's reply. Li Tianwen's words stunned the martialist, but before he could recover, a tearing aura bloomed in his body. In an instant, the martialist from the Thunder Clan was torn to pieces by countless sword auras. Tang Ao frowned after seeing this. Even with Tang Ao's eyesight, he couldn't see how Li Tianwen had attacked. However, Tang Ao had a good impression of Li Tianwen. As the host of the Black-Yellow Convention, Li Tianwen didn't show any favoritism. Even if the Thunder Clan's disciple had violated the rules, Li Tianwen would kill him instantly. Li Tianwen, what do you mean by this? Lei Guchu couldn't sit still when he saw the Thunder Clan's disciple killed. Elder Lei, could it be that what happened just now was your idea? Li Tianwen snorted coldly, not afraid of Lei Guchu at all. Upon hearing Li Tianwen's words, Lei Guchu gritted his teeth and sat back down. This time, the disciples of the primeval Thunder Clan were in the wrong. Even if he fell out with Li Tianwen, he wouldn't be in the right. However, if he didn't say anything about the death of a disciple of the Thunder family, it would be a disgrace to the Thunder family. When Lei Guchu thought of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, his mood immediately improved. Up until now, the Thunder Clan had only lost one disciple, but the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect had lost 2 disciples. Lei Guchu really wanted to see Old Man Yin Fengxing's expression if this disciple on the stage died as well. Wei Pohu of the 7 Kills sect. Please enlighten me. Although the 7 Kills sect and the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect were enemies at this moment, Wei Pohu still cupped his fist politely when he got on stage. After Wei Pohu finished speaking, Yin Yin of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect said calmly, "Scram. I don't want to waste spiritual power." He was the strongest disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect this year. Although the previous 2 were ranked 2nd and 3rd among the inner sect disciples of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, they still weren't a match for Yin Yin. Chapter 2077. Please enlighten me. Wei Pohu's face turned cold when he heard Yin Yan's impolite words. Wei Pohu was a modest person, but he definitely wasn't one to blindly concede and compromise. Wei Pohu definitely wouldn't mind teaching a lesson to such an insolent fellow. "You're courting death." Yin Yin flew into a rage when he saw Wei Pohu insist on fighting him. In the blink of an eye, countless scorching stars enveloped the entire dueling platform. These were a special combination of fate souls. These fate souls were like stars, yet they were also like balls of scorching flames. After Yin Yin released his fate souls, the temperature of the entire arena instantly rose by a few degrees. Then, Yin Yan's attacks bombarded Wei Pohu like a torrential storm. Yin Fengxing frowned when he saw Yin Yan's fighting style. Although such an attack was ferocious, it also consumed a lot of spiritual power. Moreover, controlling so many fate souls at the same time was too scattered. Such an attack looked frightening, but in reality, it was full of flaws. Yin Fengxing didn't understand how this genius disciple that the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect held in such high esteem could be so stupid. However, to be able to control so many star fate souls at the same time, Yin Yan's Heavenly Star art had at least reached the 7th stage. Yin Fengxing let out a sigh of relief when he thought of this. He only hoped that Yin Yin could create some sort of surprise. On the other side, Tang Ao shook his head. Tang Ao already knew that Yin Yin was definitely not Wei Pohu's match. Now that he saw Yin Yin attack, Tang Ao was even more certain that Yin Yin would definitely lose in less than 50 rounds. If Wei Pohu used the 7 Slaughter Divine path, it was extremely likely that the battle would end within 10 rounds. However, Tang Ao felt that since the ranking tournament had just begun, Wei Pohu probably wouldn't use such a trump card. Since the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect only had 1 disciple left, most people in the profound Heaven Plaza were looking at Yin Yin. The scene that everyone was looking forward to the most was undoubtedly Yin being defeated by Wei Pohu. Then, they would see how the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect would deal with this. After all, in the Black-Yellow Convention 100 years ago, the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect was an overlord-level existence. Among the top 10 martial artists of the Black-Yellow Convention, there were 3 from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. But who would have thought that after 100 years, the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect would become like this? Now that the ranking tournament had just begun, there was only 1 martial artist left from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. If this martial artist also lost, then there would be a good show to watch. However, as the battle between Yin Yin and Wei Pohu continued, everyone revealed looks of disappointment. Although this disciple of the 7 Kills sect was pretty good, it was still impossible for him to defeat Yin Yin. Since the start of the battle, everyone had seen Yin suppressing Wei Pohu. "We won." At this moment, Tang Ao, who was in the stands, smiled faintly. because at this moment, Tang Ao saw that due to Yin Yan's high-intensity attacks, there was a gap in the spiritual power in his body. Although it was only for an instant, it was extremely obvious because even the fate souls that Yin Yan had summoned flickered at this moment. Everyone below the stage could see the problem. On the stage, Wei Pohu had been waiting for this moment. Under Yin Yan's shocked gaze, a frost iron rod fate soul instantly appeared behind Wei Pohu. Shortly after, Wei Pohu grasped the rod with both hands and swept it horizontally. The fate souls that surrounded him were instantly shattered by Wei Pohu. Chapter 2078. Although it was only an attack from an origin martial realm cultivator, Tang Ao couldn't help but clap his hands in praise. Nice! Yin might have been able to block such an attack if he was at his peak. But at this moment, Yin was far from his peak state. With a bang, with a muffled thud, Yin was sent flying off the arena by Wei Pohu's staff. As Yin spat out a mouthful of blood, the star fate spirits he had summoned retreated back into his body. Thanks for letting me win, Wei Pohu said indifferently as he looked at Yin Yan's fluctuating aura. There was no need to say anything else. He had already used his strength to make Yin pay the price. Be careful! Just as Wei Pohu was about to leave the dueling ring, Tang Ao suddenly shouted. Because at that moment, Tang Ao felt a berserk aura in Yin Yan's hand, as if it was about to explode. And Yin Yan's target was none other than Wei Pohu, who had defeated him. After Tang Ao's warning, Wei Pohu instantly summoned his frost iron rod. At the same time, a disdainful and invincible aura suddenly blossomed from the rod. This was the first strike Wei Pohu had deduced using the 7 Slaughter Divine Path, strength multiplying 10,000 Jin. At this moment, the heavenly fireball in Yin Yan's hand flew towards Wei Pohu, but it was swept back by Wei Pohu's rod. The terrifying power of ice seeped out of the frost iron rod and froze the heavenly fireball for an instant. In an instant, the ice shattered, and the heavenly fireball exploded in front of Yin Yan. With a loud rumble, the place where Yin was just standing was instantly filled with dust and smoke. A ball of flame also burned there for a long time. Li Tianwen waved his sleeve and scattered the flames of the heavenly fireball. At the same time, the smoke also dissipated. But at this moment, there was no sign of Yin Yan. He had long been burned to ashes by the heavenly fireball. Little bastard, you're courting death. Yin Fengxing was furious after the last disciple of the heavenly star sacred sect fell. After a roar, Yin Fengxing directly slammed his palm towards Wei Pohu. In the face of Yin Fengxing's palm, Wei Pohu felt as if he had been completely restrained. He couldn't even move. Impudent! The spiritual energy on Tang Ao's body instantly erupted. His figure flashed as he arrived before Wei Pohu. Shortly after, a golden light condensed on Tang Ao's body as the battle's Saint Bone Life soul instantly protected his body. Facing Yin Fengxing's palm strike, Tang Ao also blasted out a palm strike. Suddenly, the entire space trembled violently. A ring-shaped shockwave spread out from the two of them. Before the cultivators in the surrounding arenas could even understand what was going on, they were all sent flying and spat out mouthfuls of blood. After Tang Ao took Yin Fengxing's palm strike head-on, the Thunder family's Lei Guchu and the Thunder Python immediately attacked. Lei Guchu could naturally tell that Tang Ao had not reached the astral reaching realm yet. Without the cultivation of astral reaching realm, he was able to take on Yin Fengxing's palm strike first. How frightening was this? Once this Tang Ao was allowed to grow, who among the 7 forces could be his opponent? After Lei Guchu and the Thunder Python attacked, Dragon Transformation Pavilions Ing Longzi and Xiahou families Xiahou, Jia simultaneously stood up and rushed towards Tang Ao without any superfluous words. Although the Black-Yellow Conference was important today, it was even more important to keep the leader of the 7 Kill sect, Tang Ao. No one had made a move earlier, as no one was willing to make the first move. However, Since everyone had already made their moves, there was no need for any more superfluous words. However, Ing Longzi and Xiao Jie, as well as Ouyang Changhe and Xiao Guangxing, were all blocked by a blood-robed figure. Everyone had naturally seen this blood-robed figure. This person had come together with Tang Ao. However, up until now, no one had seen him say a single word. It was just that Ing Longzi and the others didn't expect that at this moment, when they were about to attack Tang Ao, this person would suddenly appear. Seeing the blood demon ancestor blocking the way, the long spear in Xiao Guangxing's hand ruthlessly pierced out. Since this person was also from the Seven Kill sect, then no matter who he was still an enemy. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.